Following live stream has been approved for appropriate audiences. It may contain occasional strong language and may not be suitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer inebriation is advised, though not mandatory.
Imagine that face you make when someone says, "Hey, did you hear they're remaking insert some show or film here?" Well, sometimes it's not that bad. No, really. We're going to share some of our favorite remakes, where we think they were actually improved. Then we're going to discuss some things we think deserve to be remade, if it's done right, by people with real talent and skill. Not modern Hollywood. Yeah, whatever. Let's have fun tonight. Top off your glasses, tell me what you're sipping on in the chat, and we'll roll out this Canarble Wagon right now.
Last call is streamed before a live audience.
Salud. Welcome. So glad you guys are here tonight. Been looking forward to this all week. Netta wakes me up on Friday and she says, "Hey, guess what today is? It's Drinkies Day." I'm like, yeah, gets me out of bed on a Friday. It's something to look forward to. And just in case you want to know what I'm sipping on.
What'll it be, pal?
Yep, it's a martini. And this is actually the last of my gin. I don't even have any olives left. I'm completely out of olives, so I got to go shopping tomorrow. That is not me, begging for money or asking you to buy me a drink or anything. It's just I haven't gotten to the store and I've just been lazy. So I'm out of gin, I'm out of whiskey, I'm out of bourbon, I'm apparently out of olives. Boy, oh boy. But if this goes down, and this is actually more vermouth than I usually have, just because I, wanted to make it to a full drink. If this doesn't quite do it for me, I do have the brandy over here that I might switch to. But anyway, let me get my designated driver in here because I'm probably going to need him tonight. How you doing, my friend? Age of Boomer, what are you sipping on?
Hello, I have a Coca-Cola Classic.
Ooh. I'm not used to that much vermouth.
Ooh, some good stuff, huh?
Well,
you need a spritzer or something with that?
It's a dry vermouth, but it still tastes sweet because, by comparison to gin, it would be, right?
You know what I had today? I had baby back ribs.
Ooh. I want my baby back.
They were good too.
You cooking yourself out on the grill?
No, they were at a local restaurant. That's has like a Harley Davidson theme.
I don't think I can drink this. Yeah. It's too. Yeah.
Wait, a booze you can't drink?
Way too much.
Drink her down.
No.
Don't you remember?
That's like alcohol abuse.
There was a line in the original Evil Dead movie where the one guy says Bruce Campbell's saying some kind of Greek saying, and the one guy says, which means, and he says, "Party down," but it was really the actor was originally supposed to say "drink her down," but
Well, I mean, the two kind of go hand in hand, right? I mean, it's reasonable. Let this.
Anyway,
ooh, that's gonna be good. This might actually work out better for me. But
I'm excited though, huh? I don't know what I'm excited for.
You should be excited for a whole lot of things. We've had our political streams recently, and we're not going to go down that road, but I see a lot of things to be kind of white-pilled about. I'm feeling pretty positive about a lot of things.
Yes.
I had a conversation, like in the chitty chats on the Exy tweeters, and with Curtis Selby, who we'll be saying hi to in just a second. And I was pointing out that there's a certain candidate who I think is a very good marketer. He's a businessman and he knows how to market himself. And people get all bent out of shape when he makes an exaggeration, right? Or he says something that's, not demonstrably true, but he's repeating something that he's seen on the internet or whatever. People freak out about it, and they
say you're bad,
and I'm like, that's brilliant, right? You know, we were Netter and I actually, because there's a YouTuber who does all these cat and mostly cat themed songs. He takes cats making noises and stuff and turns it into music and stuff.
Making noises.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like they're talking.
It sounds like they're talking. He turns it into music and he adds lyrics and stuff. Well, he did that with the what's it called? The debate.
They're eating the cats.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people who live there. And then he, you know, remixes it and he auto-tunes it and then he adds himself to it. And it's really a good song.
You think 50 years from now that'll be a Broadway tune?
Well, this is what I was saying to Curtis. I said the day after that debate, what's everybody talking about? That, right?
Why don't you find the clip and play it?
No, because I don't want to play someone else's stuff. I want you guys. But if you can find it, drop the link so everyone else can do that.
Okay. The YouTuber's name is Kiffness.
Okay. Yeah, if you can find his channel, go ahead and drop it.
I will do that.
But I said, you know, it doesn't matter if it's true or not, because the people that go to find out, you know, well, there's nothing to substantiate, blah, 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 they're going to start seeing some other things reported by the people that live in Springfield, Ohio. And they might learn a thing or two, you know? And meanwhile, you know, people just keep memeing it and ticking off people that aren't going to vote for him anyway. Anyway, I didn't mean to get political, and I don't really feel like I'm getting political. I'm just making a, you know.
Okay. I'm actually going to drop in all three of our streams. So I'm just going to title it as Eating the Cats and then drop the link in.
There's some jokes to be made there. I'm not drunk yet for those jokes.
Don't even.
Maybe after I've had a little bit more to drink.
Kitties.
Yeah, I know where Troy's going with that.
Well,
keep in mind I'm still within throwing
distance.
Were
Oh, what are you drinking tonight, Netter of Netter's Network?
I don't know. You haven't pulled me in yet either.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I told you that I wasn't going to tell you what I was drinking until tonight.
Yes. What are you drinking?
I am drinking Liquid Death.
That's just water.
Yes, but it's cool. It's Liquid Death.
What? When did you get that?
Well, okay. When I ran out of my sparkling water that I normally drink, and I was desperate to get some more water, I ordered this off of Amazon, and then I was under the impression I would get it within like a day or so.
Yeah.
No, it took like a week and a half before I finally got it.
Oh.
Which means I got it like 3 days ago. Yeah. And it's like, really?
It's not even carbonated, is it?
No, it's just regular water in a can.
Water in a can.
But I thought it was kind of cool. Liquid Death.
Yeah, I was just watching a video about the whole idea about aluminum cans. It's up to you how you feel about how recyclable they are and so on and so forth. And it's a good alternative to plastic, but there's actually a plastic lining inside aluminum cans. People don't realize that.
What?
You didn't know that?
No.
All aluminum cans have a plastic lining inside because even though aluminum is less reactive than, say, iron, for example, it still oxidizes over time. And so, yeah, to protect whatever's inside that aluminum can, they put in a very thin plastic lining. You can dip cans in acid that'll eat away the aluminum and leave this plastic bag type.
What?
And that's why we had to get rid of all of my my tab sodas, because the soda was starting to eat through the plastic, and then it very quickly starts to deteriorate the aluminum, and some of the cans would just go pfft, and I was getting messes, and it just didn't taste right. You know, you start to get that icky aluminum flavor in it. And it was like, this isn't why I got these sodas to begin with. So just had to pitch them. But it's something good to know, because I am planning to get myself an aluminum forge so that I can start melting down aluminum
Instead of giving them all to the garbage man.
instead of giving them all to the garbage man.
Boomer, can you look at private chat, please?
Oh yeah, sure.
But
I'm flirting with him backstage.
I don't blame you. I do too sometimes.
Well, it's that tractor. I think that tractor's sexy.
Yep. But anyway, so you know what? Let's get to the chat because you guys have been waiting long enough. Starting with, oh my gosh, early 3:41 p.m. my time. So that's like 4:30 your time. Lady Mist was already here dropping flowers and hearts and all the other emojis. She is just I said Semper Fidelis is absolutely the best description for Lady Mist. And of course, I love you too, Netter.
I was second.
Yes, you were second. And you were pretty early too. You were like not even 5 o'clock.
Yep.
Let's see here. Yep, and that's what I was saying, Holy cow. And Curtis Selby, I was just talking about you. Howdy, how you doing, my friend? And may the splinters always point down as you slide down the banister of life. Have a great stream, my friends. And yes, it is all downhill from here, isn't it? Anyway, welcome, Big Al. Big Al Presents. We'll be hanging out with him tomorrow night, watching the movie The Wraith with Charlie Sheen and Sherilyn Fenn.
Speaking of splinters, Troy managed to get one in his foot. We don't know how.
Yeah. You know how sometimes you get something. It didn't go directly into my foot. It was in my sock and it worked its way in. Yeah, I had to take my sock off to get the splinter out. Welcome, Tim. FKHC 2005. JPRPH1. Fedora Canarble Mumbler logo. Welcome. Well, those are the emojis that he's
What's that
posting.
again?
It looks better in YouTube than it does on StreamYard. It would be nice if I could bring those up, but sadly, StreamYard is not yet there. And he's actually making the rounds. He's saying hi to Netter on her channel too. Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies. Hip hip hurrah. Hip hip hurrah and tally ho. Welcome. And let's see here. Who else we got? Me and Netter saying hi to everybody. You guys all greeting each other. Woohoo! It's Friday night, finally. Howdy, last call, Aged Boomer and Netter's Network. Welcome, David Pensack. So glad to see you here, my friend. You are good people. Salute to Deleted Scenes. Great little sit down with him last night over on Netter's Network. That's always fun. This guy is constantly streaming. And I'm
telling you, he does not sleep.
I know. Good evening, Sir Torrin Clegane. Welcome, my friend. And Logical Spark. Hey, peeps. Almost forgot about Friday Last Call. Well, don't forget about Friday Last Call. We miss you when you're not here. But, of course, our aim is improving. And Aged Boomer, again, welcome. Darth Plato. No more remakes. Well, yes, I agree with you. For the most part, but we're going to have some positive things to say about some remakes. Let's see here. Troy is channeling his inner Dean Martin always. I'm glad you picked up on that. That's kind of the conceit of the whole channel. I really do. And thank you so much, Curtis Selby. Dropped a super sticker. Let me see if I can see what that looks like over on the YouTubery. That is, keep it up. Little bean exercising. That's cool. Thank you so much, my friend. And let's see what else we got going on. Oktoberfest beer for John. Okay, good. Yeah, we're coming up on October, so they're starting to get the October beer out, right? The Oktoberweiss. Sir Torrance says the only remake I can think of that I like was Sabrina, though I've never seen the original. See, that's if you didn't see the original, it's kind of hard to say that, right? But actually, that could have made that. I don't know. Both are really good. Actually, Dean Martin was not a heavy drinker. Yes, the drunk act was simply that. Yes, that is absolutely true. Very much a teetotaler, and very much a homebody. The Rat Pack guys, old Blue Eyes and whatnot, used to try and get him to go out with them, and he'd all right, after they pressured him, they'd go out. He'd have like one drink and then go home. He didn't like going out and canoodling. He wanted to be home with the family, and I have to say I really, really respect that. Troy turns sour face at alcohol. Well, see, I'm a little bit of a snob, and if it's not made right, I call it out. And yeah, that martini was just wrong. It was just wrong. I was looking forward to it, and I'm gonna have to go to Binny's tomorrow.
Now you really have no more gin.
I have no gin. I have no whiskey. I have no bourbon. I got a crap ton of vodka, but most of it is that American. What is it?
Buddies
out. Oh yeah.
We're thinking of using that to strip paint.
We could just use it, as a paint stripper. That's true. And salute to the Clue channel, VIP member. Super, super appreciate.
Actually, I might be putting some of it in a spray bottle and just using it as an air freshener. Yes,
you could actually.
Because I know people are probably like, vodka is air freshener, but yeah, vodka actually has no smell. So a lot of cosplayers will use it to switch their outfits that can't be washed to get the stink
This
out.
is something that a lot of people that used to do Star Trek, cosplay, with a lot of the what's that stretchy material?
Lycra.
Lycra and whatnot. Well, Lycra had a tendency to hold the body odor. So
and then some.
So they picked up a little tip from the furry crowd that told them, oh yeah, if you can't wash it, you spray it down with vodka and it kills all the bacteria, and then it dries, and it doesn't have a smell anymore. So
I think ours, if I used it, it might have a slight vanilla smell because for whatever reason, Buddy's vodka is vanilla scented or flavored.
Well, good.
I don't mind vanilla.
And the producers was good, though I add the caveat that the musical is not the same thing. We're going to be talking about the different kinds of remakes in exactly those kinds of terms. Excellent. 1995 remake with Harrison Ford was good. Yeah, it was okay. It was good. You saw Dean Martin once, like in person?
Neat.
I'd be real impressed to hear about that. That's really cool. I almost got an opportunity to see Elvis live once, but that didn't pan out.
And you were going to be what, 2?
Yeah, I think I was like 8 or something like that. Yeah. Although I did see what was that bloke's name that was the Elvis impersonator? Esposito. Somebody's got to remember that. He was like the most famous Elvis impersonator.
I'm actually pinning the link to "They're eating the cats and the dogs" over to the top of my chat.
Yeah,
to make it easier for people to find.
Here. I gotta start moving through these.
You got a lot of peeps.
I do have a lot of peeps, and I super appreciate all of you. How big are your biceps?
Maybe don't answer that.
maybe not so bad. Well, maybe not as big as they used to be when I was in high school. I used to work out a lot when I was in high school. I had like no neck, couldn't scratch my own butt.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, I used to work. I wasn't on the football team, but I worked out with the football team. And True Nguyen, hail and welcome. So glad you're here. And of course, happy Friday from Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Welcome. Check out his channel, especially if you're into, sports. Welcome to the Liquid Death Club, Netter and Troy. You drink the Liquid Death too? God bless you.
Thank you.
Sit tight.
Thank you. I still have my cold from yesterday.
Oh, I see.
Smirnoff isn't so bad. So the reason that we had the buddies was because I wanted to do this was back when the whole dust up happened in the Ukraine initially, and I said I want to do an American vodka versus
a Russian
vodka.
I remember that, yeah.
And I had Netter hand them to me, and she knew which was which, and I did not, so it was a blind taste test. And I said, you know, I chose the one that I liked better, and I'm like, I think I did. I think that's where Netter got it from. It's like, yeah, it has a bit of a vanilla taste to it. That's weird, and it just tasted harsh. And then I had the Smirnoff, and I didn't know it was Smirnoff at the time. I was like, yeah, this tastes like vodka to me. That's the one I like. She says, yeah, you picked the Smirnoff. I'm like, well, what am I going to do with that other one then?
Well,
Bloody Mary.
In high school, I can say, anyone want vodka?
You know what? You're right. You know, the crummy alcohols that you don't like the taste of, you can put them into a mix and
Moscow Mule.
Moscow Mule is ginger beer and is it ginger beer and vodka? I think you're right.
Alexa, what's in a Moscow Mule?
A Moscow Mule contains 1/2 part lime juice, 12 parts ginger beer, and 4.5 parts vodka.
Not enough.
There's your solution, though.
There you go. Yep.
You can't call it vodka anymore. It's potato juice. That was, I believe, that was national.
Oh,
okay. Remember Freedom Fries? Remember when that was going on?
That was the stupidest thing. Especially since there's no indication that papas fritas are actually French in any way, shape, or form.
They are not. In England, they call them chips.
That's true. That's true, because what we call chips, they call crisps. The only original...
that makes sense to call chips crisps.
It does.
They are crisp, yeah.
There's a lot of things, a lot of Britishisms that when you think about it, you're like, that makes sense. Look, you know, there's... I do this. WDW Pro from time to time does this, and Rush Limbaugh used to do this too. Pronouncing certain words, not speaking in a British accent, but pronouncing certain words with the British pronunciation. For example, words like ISSUE, TISSUE, right? Issue, tissue. Why do Americans call it tissues as if they've had too many of these? Why are you slurring a double S?
It's pronounced, we pronounce as if the second S is an H.
Yeah.
Tish you.
That doesn't make any sense, right? But I suppose if you want to be, really picayune about it, they, the river that runs through London, Thames. How would you pronounce that, Boomer?
Thames.
Thames?
It's the Thames.
It's the Thames. They pronounce their THs as T's, and it's like, but why though? So, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But another one. Schedule. How do you pronounce it?
Well, Americans pronounce it schedule, but the Brits pronounce it schedule.
Schedule.
SCH makes a sh sound. And that makes sense when you think about the letters. What makes it a hard K sound? See, that doesn't, So there's certain words that the British, pronounce. And I'm like,
they're just taking the S and the C.
I get that.
That makes it hard.
And
here's your language lesson for today.
Yeah. Just, that's just me, I just go back to the glass bottles. Yes, glass bottles. Absolutely. Glass bottles.
They are the
whenever
best.
Possible. Aluminum to me is second best, and plastic is just no. And I'm not even talking about the environment. I'm talking about the taste. It changes the taste. And good evening, John Joe. Should I be pronouncing it Juggalo? Or should I pronounce it the way Netter is saying it and saying John Doe Gigolo?
I didn't say gigolo. I said juggalo.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood you. See, you got to enunciate. Enunciation, pronunciation, volume. going back to my drama days.
You're within throwing distance.
All alcohol should be consumed from glass. I agree with you 100%. And welcome back, Tim. Thanks for being here. Oh, yes. And that video that Netter pinned, all the proceeds are going to the Springfield SPCA, which, I think is pretty awesome. And we have YouTube royalty in the stream. Let me know when I can place an order for an aluminum Temple of Doom rope bridge knife. I'm going to have to, next week on Netter's Network, Netter is going to be interviewing Gary Ambrosia. I'll talk with him a little bit about that because we could make that happen for you, my friend. And he might actually be able to, he may even already have one of those that we can make a form from. So this absolutely could happen. But yeah. Oh, and Michael, Doomcock, don't you? Maybe reach out to him. I just saw his last video and he was talking about Hasbro, and I was sharing some insights about Hasbro. He was of course talking about the Star Wars license. And I said, yeah, but it's not all Star Wars fault. Hasbro's, when you're given lemons, you make lemonade, not bad lemon juice, and that's kind of how Hasbro's been doing.
Like that bad martini you just had? Like
that bad martini. I mean, I feel bad. It's so wasteful of me, I did find out that Bill Condon is directing a remake of Kiss of the Spider Woman. Well, that's interesting. Based on the Kander and Ebb musical. I'm kind of excited about that. Yeah, we'll see. Let's see. I want to try and get through these as quick as possible. Okay, yeah, you guys are talking to each other, which is a good thing. I super appreciate you guys being social. Oh, the Clue channel. You're such a big supporter of the channel. I super appreciate you. Battlestar Galactica, best remake ever. I thought about talking about that one today. That didn't make my list only because it's kind of the one that people always go to. I want to bring up some other ones, but I'm glad you did mention it.
Did you mention Kirby Selby's $5 super sticker? It was before that.
Yes, I did. That was the Keep It Up. Yes.
Okay.
And Gorilla Random Thoughts. Welcome. Kapla. Gotta lurk like a Israeli pager because I gotta be on the road. Okay. Welcome, my friend. Let's see. After the stream is done, I recommend everyone go watch 2 retro blasting videos that have to do with this topic. Game of Clones, and It's Okay for Stories to End. That one especially. It's Okay for Stories to End is actually a great one. There's a gal, I can't remember her name. She's a YouTuber who got real popular during the pandemic, doing videos about like talking to your future self after, before and after the pandemic and whatnot. She did a video where she plays multiple roles, personifications of the different franchises that keep getting bad sequels. No. Oh, it was the Fast and the Furious was in a bin with an arm hanging out and was completely nonverbal. The Spider-Man one was just twitching and was not able to speak. And Star Wars and Marvel sitting next to each other was like, I don't understand them. They keep remaking them, and it's the same story over and over again. He gets bit, his uncle dies, responsibility over and over and over again. She goes, I know. Oh gosh. Alcohol alert. Troy is running low or on empty. Yeah. That's Netter will take care of me. Don't worry. On empty. Little Shop of Horrors with Rick Moranis. Actually, that is on my list, especially because we just watched that recently. Oh, really? Oakland in 88, the Rat Pack's last tour. Man, I am envious. That is really, really awesome, Darth Plato. I hate the Harrison Ford Sabrina. I don't know for sure if I saw it. I'm sure I did, but I can't remember. Took all the fun, wit, and good directing. We're going to talk about some of those kinds of stylistic choices too. Tito's from Texas. Okay. Come to think of it, why didn't I get Tito's to honor Tito Jackson? Yeah. And Matanui, welcome. Good to see you, my friend. And yep, thanks, we got it. Geek Flag with Nate Knows, 1973. Welcome, my friend. Yep. Ginger beer. Oh, and I even have copper cups to serve it in.
Yes, because who got
You need a copper cut.
Because you did. Yes. Yeah, I have a British wife. I know a lot of them. There you go. But they say, but oh, whatever. Yeah. Instead of ball of water. Yeah. They drop their T's a lot. Yeah. Mostly the kind of East End slang, right? Wait till they start remaking. They have just a gigolo and everywhere. There's a remake too, because what's his name from David Lee Roth remade it in the 80s, right? Let's see. And I see someone saying hi to there's Connie. There she is. Welcome, Connie. And saying hi to everybody. Mark Melnikoff, waiting for the Stormy Daniels remake. And greetings from there's an industry that, to my knowledge, doesn't do a lot of remakes. That's the adult entertainment industry. They just keep putting out new stuff all the time. From the depths of the dilithium mines of Aurora Pente. Just dropping by to say Kabla. And two says a remake for Fatal Beauty could work if John Milius if his unfilmed script was used, but I doubt it because MGM, who made the 1987 film, is owned by Amazon, which would make it worse under the current regime. Yeah, we're going to talk about that too. That was kind of something I was getting at in my opening monologue when I said, yeah, some things would benefit from a remake, but not in the current environment.
No, that's part of the problem, actually. Yeah, because some things they couldn't be made today. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, and Samuel's even saying those 40s and 50s directors, they knew how to do good remakes. The rare times they did, it was often their own from the silent black and white days. You know what? That's actually a very, very good point. You could almost say they were the early days of the George Lucas mentality. Oh, now we have new technology. I want to remake this using the new technology, but it was different enough that it merited doing that. It wasn't just a special edition kind of a thing. But okay, so one last one, and then we'll get right into it.
Did you see
good remake? Evelyn? All's Quiet on the Western Front from 1979. I have yet to see the latest, but I've heard good things. Absolutely true. The porn industry is always putting out. I see what you did there. I got that reference.
Did you say hello to Evelyn?
I did not. Did I miss Evelyn? Welcome, Evelyn Kapla. Actually, in 2016, they did remake of Debbie Does Dallas. They even made it a reality show to cast the new Debbie. I had no idea, Nate.
What?
I that one was completely off my radar.
Wow.
Pull that up in the hub later.
Oh no.
Within throwing distance.
No, because I doubt one of the rules is you never remake classics.
It's just like when John Borman was trying to cast Maria for some Broadway production. Remember, he was on that thing like, who's the next Broadway star? And John Borman, and play Captain Jack, because I guess he was a Broadway star before he was on Doctor Who, right?
Yes, he was. Oh, and he's another one who does that a lot. And in fact, they worked it into the original appearances in his first appearances in Doctor Who and Torchwood. He did that. He was talking, or maybe that was because it's okay for you to have an accent, but there's certain words that you got to pronounce in the British so that the British understood it. He made some reference when it started raining to the smell of estrogen in the air.
Oh,
and
okay.
That's their pronunciation of estrogen. And that may have had relevance. They might not have understood what he was talking about otherwise. I don't know. And one word that they pronounce differently, but they also spell it differently, and that's aluminium. They say as many syllables as they write into it. So we actually changed our spelling to change the pronunciation.
When are we going to get transparent aluminum, though?
We already do.
Oh, okay.
Seriously, no, it really does exist.
Oh, wow.
And when they put it out on the market, they were constantly referencing Star Trek 4.
Star Trek. They probably get Paramount. Can we use that clip?
Yeah, exactly. Well, they put up the picture of the guy, looking at the computer with Scotty. And
my favorite.
How do we know
line,
he didn't invent the thing?
Do you remember when his secretary walks and says, "Not now, Madeline"? Remember he yells at her.
Well, if you think about, that would be like somebody from the Terminator future coming back to Cyberdyne and saying, "Here, look at this," But anyway. So let's talk about this is our argument. These are a couple of examples of good remakes.
Oh, but before we get there.
Yeah. You've already got it up. Yeah. So this was just a bit of serendipity, right? We're getting our articles ready for Sunday for Geeky Geezers, and I ran across this one. This was just from just yesterday. An article comes out where James Cameron is talking about what he wants to do with the future of the Terminator, which is interesting because just last week, I did the rewatch of Terminator and Terminator 2, and then I was over on Pops' channel for Talk Hard talking about Terminator, and we were bemoaning a lot of the sequels and how it's pretty much dead unless they can come up with something. And he's basically saying the future of the Terminator is throw it all out and start all over again from scratch. And at first I kind of bristled. Then I read the article and I started thinking, and I'm like, he may have a point. But then I started thinking, this is James Cameron we're talking about.
But part of me wants to say, okay, boomer. That's what I want to say. I'm sorry. Of course, now I'm using my namesake. But
there you go.
James Cameron plans I don't have the whole article. I just have the summary here by Jeremy Conrad. I forget where. But James Cameron plans to reboot the Terminator franchise, describing past 40 years of films. New Terminator stories will focus on core principles without relying on old iconography. Upcoming films will feature powerless main characters fighting AI, maintaining a moral compass.
Yeah.
Cameron believes new films will attract and captivate fresh audiences while retaining the franchise's essence.
Yeah.
This guy has tried to resell Terminator over and over and over again.
Well, the thing that stood out to me was that second point. New Terminator stories will focus on core principles without relying on old iconography. I have felt all along that constantly having to have Arnold Schwarzenegger in it was killing it. It's like Michael over at Retro Blasting was saying about Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones. They should have recast him long time ago, and they should not have turned it into an arc that came to an end. They should have just kept it an anthology thing. The next adventure, the next adventure, the next adventure that goes on and on, just like James Bond. And as we were doing the watch party on the Monday, and even as we were talking on Pops' channel the next day, pointing out how stupid it is to constantly keep reusing the same, not only the same model of Terminator, but the same outer appearance, because the whole idea was infiltration. Even within the first movie, you see a flashback from the point of view of Kyle Reese, a Terminator trying to get in, recognized by the dogs as a Terminator, starts shooting people up. Doesn't look anything like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Doesn't even look that big and buff either, you know. And subsequent we've seen subsequent models. The Summer Glau Terminator from the TV show was endoskeleton, not liquid metal type thing. And
yes,
you know, I got the impression she was still a little bit more advanced than the Arnold, but not by much. So it's very clear they could do smaller models, you know, leaner. They didn't have to be super ultra muscular. Yes, I understand that. Actually, I don't. I understand in the third movie why he sends another one back, you know, to himself that looks like Arnold, because he had kind of imprinted that fatherly figure from the second movie, right, on that particular visage. But that doesn't make any sense why a second one came back in the second movie looking like the one from the first movie. That has no there's no advantageous reason that they would send a Terminator back looking like that, you know.
Well, it's like in Battlestar Galactica, where you had the chick in the red dress, and they all looked like her. And there were like, what, only 12 models or something like that that looked different?
Yes, exactly.
They're probably going along
but
that way.
my point being, I think they got mired down in having to use Arnold over and over and over again. It should be a different Terminator all the time. And it could be male, it could be female, it could be whatever they need, especially if you're going to start doing stuff with the liquid metal and all that kind of stuff. So stop it.
We'll see. Keep in mind that one of the big draws of the Terminator movies, even when you had the T-1000, was the real draw was the actor, the movie star, and Hollywood needs to do a better job of cultivating modern movie stars. And
I am willing to. I started out saying that myself during the watch party, but I gotta say, I'm okay with sacrificing Terminator 2 as well. It should have been one and done, because as soon as you started on 2, you ended up with a whole bunch of paradoxes that did not need to happen. It was nice and neat when it was the first movie, and that's it.
Oh, anyways.
But yes, stop double dipping the chit. Exactly.
We've had quadruple, probably more so chit dipping at this point.
I will agree with Cameron on this. It probably does need to be rebooted if you're going to do anything with it.
Maybe just
because, for one thing, you know it's an alternate reality anyway, because it all takes place in the 90s, right? You know? So, and it seemed like they wanted to start getting at this idea when they got into, what was the one after Gynesis? What was the one that came after that? Or maybe it was the one before.
Dark Fate came after it.
Okay, no, it was Gynesis then. That's the
Horrible
one where
movie.
That was the one where they had the cell phones and the
stupid
and the nanotech. But
stupid.
Yes.
John Carter's the villain now. Great. Yeah, let's make him the villain.
100%.
Well, no, he was taken over by whatever. He made him the villain.
My point was that they at least acknowledged that they needed to start thinking about real world things.
Please.
That yes, actually, Salvation I think started bringing up the nanotech before Gynesis.
No.
And we got to start talking about nanotech technology. In fact, it should be the explanation for how the liquid metal works. And yes, we need to start talking about this emergent large language models, mobile phones, satellites, all this kind of stuff. This technology has come so far in the past 30 years. Yeah, we might be due for a rethinking about how they do Terminator. But my point is, I don't want Cameron touching it, and I don't think anyone in Hollywood is going to do it. I'm just saying, I can see the argument for it. Tom, welcome, my friend.
Welcome.
This is a second big YouTube royalty coming into my stream tonight. This is awesome. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. We are about to get away from this particular topic and start getting to some examples of remakes that we've made, that we actually think they did a pretty decent job on.
All right. Shall I start?
Hmm?
Troy's picks.
Yes.
Nosferatu. I tried finding an original poster for the 1920s version. I don't know if this is that version.
Might be.
Provided it even came out in the 20s. Maybe it was earlier. But here we go. Count
Yes.
Orlok. Have you seen this movie?
I have it on DVD. In fact, I am planning on doing a video specifically about this. That's why I wanted to talk about it a little bit. So this was a silent film.
Creepy as shit.
Yeah, well, and you know, there is something to be said. I think a lot of people that are horror fans have pointed this out. The black and white and silent films tend to lend something of a creepiness factor to things for the modern audience. So I think there's absolutely value.
Wasn't there a rumor that the actor got so involved in the role that he actually thought he was Nosferatu?
Well, yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit later, but they may have blown that out of proportion. There's been movies made to embellish on that, but there was also a good deal of let's say the people involved in the making of the first movie were very much into the esoteric, so that finds its way kind of into the production and some Easter eggs and whatnot. So Nosferatu, Ein Symphonie, I can't even do it. It translates as a symphony of terror. This was the F.W. Murnau film. And this was a little bit controversial at the time because it was literally the first film adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. But there was a problem. You make a film based on a book that is not in the public domain, you need a license or you need to make an agreement. And Stoker's widow sued over this film. And so they
25% different. That's what they said, right?
Yeah, so they tried to. They did. They changed the names of the characters.
There we go.
They changed the setting. Some elements of his vampiric nature were changed, including, interestingly enough, spoiler for an 80, 90-year-old film. Here you go. He dies because of sunlight. And they used a really cool early film technique to have him kind of dissolve away in the sunlight. The idea that sunlight killed the vampire started here. It wasn't part of the original Dracula. And that's been picked up by Dracula ever since.
Interesting.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yep. Yeah, see, I get excited when I see Tom's in the chat. So anyway, this film was not supposed to continue because of the lawsuit. All copies were supposed to be destroyed. This almost became
lost media,
a piece of lost media.
Yeah.
But it did survive. It has been restored and is now in the public domain. So it is ripe for some remakes. So yeah, let's go ahead and get to the remake then.
Now, this is a poster for the remake. I originally thought this was a poster for the original, but then, oh wait, no, that's a remake. I'd never even heard of this movie.
Klaus Kinski, absolutely. Yeah. So first, it's color. Second, it's sound. Third, it stars Klaus Kinski, who actually does a phenomenal job as Count Orlok. And it does absolutely elevate the story. It It again is not trying to reproduce the Dracula motif. It is now truly doing a remake of the Count Orlok story, and they add some elements that make it a bit more apocalyptic, very dark. The idea was, again, this was an Orlok feature, not a Dracula feature. Dracula, of course, had control of the creatures of the night, right? The wolves.
He's grabbing something.
Yes,
sorry.
The wolves, the bats, and the rats, right?
Mhm.
Well, Orlok takes the affinity with the rats to a higher degree, and he becomes a plague spreader. Oh, is he called Dracula in the new version? I did not realize that.
This was a Werner Herzog movie, right?
Yes,
He
it
was the
was.
director. Yes.
Yes. Just watched it last night. Yeah, I'm going to be.
Oh.
I'm probably going to end up doing a double feature on this one. It's been so long since I've seen it, I don't remember. But yeah, they cleave more to the Orlok story than they do to the Dracula story. And this idea, there's this great scene towards the end of the film where everybody's sitting out in the middle of a courtyard eating a feast surrounded by rats and whatnot. It's like,
Ew.
okay, I gotta say the line. I do not go blah 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 blah. I got all those.
Does he say that in the movie?
No. That's from what is it? Hotel Transylvania. Yeah. But yes, it's almost a shot-for-shot remake of Nosferatu, though with a few added bits. And those few added bits, like I say, in addition to the sound, in addition to the makeup is incredible. The color, this is an example of a remake that was worthwhile, that I really do think elevated. And now that Tom points out to me, I did not realize they actually refer to him as Dracula in this. It's like that cool little nod that they can do, because now Dracula is, of course, in the public domain as well, and they can do that. So both films are in the public domain. So if you want to make a Dracula film, if you want to make a Count Orlok film, you absolutely can do it. But you got to be careful. You got to, it does have to be significantly different from the Universal version or from the other version, or this version or that version. You gotta think through what makes the Universal Dracula uniquely universal, and not just Bram Stoker's Dracula.
They need to make a vampire that's a Karen.
Oh, God, that would be a monster.
That would be funny, actually. Like if yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
In the 1922 version, yeah. The 1922 version is completely public domain. Yes. The Universal Dracula only has a few more years before it goes into the public domain. I wouldn't be surprised to find out, however, that just like Steamboat Willie and stuff like that, there's a difference between trademark and copyright. So, certain elements, like I was alluding to, Bela Lugosi had that widow's peak and didn't have the fangs, and he had a very particular looking pendant that he wore. All of that is universal. We tend to think of it in terms of that's just Dracula, but that's like saying all facial tissues are Kleenex. No, Kleenex is a trademark.
And he had those eyes.
Yeah,
They're just so mesmerizing.
Yeah, the lights across. Well, but see, that's not something you can actually trademark or copyright. So that has worked its way into. Well, actually, it wasn't even unique to Dracula.
It was
They'd done that before. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yes, right. The music, of course, could definitely cause you a problem. Although, you find a royalty-free version of Swan Lake, you could probably get away with it. Yes, over on Midnight's Edge After Dark, there's a copy of Steamboat Willie in 4K.
Oh. You can watch it. It's a classic. I like that.
Oh, I didn't know you had to you got hit for that and had to appeal it. Good on you, Tom. That is awesome. I'd love to talk to you some more about that. That would be a lot of fun. But yes, I do feel that Nosferatu is a great one. And like I said, I'm probably going to be doing a video. I'm hoping to get it done before Halloween. If I don't, then it probably won't happen until next year. Timing's everything. But there we go. So that's Nosferatu. That's my first pick for a good remake. So, and my first rule on remakes is if the medium has changed significantly, you've added sound, you've added color, you've added technology in makeup, and you can do at least as good a job, you're already kind of elevating it. So that's a worthwhile remake in my opinion.
Now, someone in the chat mentioned 10 Commandments was remade, and he's right. Cecil B. DeMille did the original silent version, then he came back in the 50s and remade it.
Yes, he did.
Now, the thing is, though, it becomes tricky when it's an adaptation, because if you're just doing another adaptation of like a book, is it still a remake or is it its own thing?
You could almost make that argument about this one, sure.
Yeah, but this was supposed to be a remake of the original silent movie, which was supposedly not based on Dracula, or not supposed to be Dracula, right? So it's its own. So I would consider this a remake.
Yeah.
And then you had this one.
Okay. So this one. So I've got to back the. Okay. So first, right, Rita Hayworth plays the Greek muse Terpsichore, right?
Are you sure that she wasn't actually the Greek muse in real life?
Well, she may have been. That I don't know. She was a little bit before my time, right? So
Okay.
she comes down to earth, right? As the title says, and there you go. Oh God, she was beautiful, right?
Yes.
And she kind of takes up with a gentleman on Earth, and that causes some problems because you have the immortal woman and the human male, and it's.
Oh wait.
Oh well, yeah, you're getting a little
Went too far. I'm going all over the place. I'm sorry. I'm trying to. Is that the human male? I take it, the guy in the army uniform.
Actually, it's been so long, I don't remember.
You don't remember? Okay, all right, but that's okay. Yes.
But yeah, go ahead and go to CoverGirl. Another.
Well, then we're just referencing because it was a sequel to this movie. You said correct?
No.
I'm not, what did you mean by this?
Let me
This
explain.
was before
Down to
this
Earth.
movie.
Down to Earth was a 1947 movie. CoverGirl is another movie that Rita Hayworth appears in with Gene Kelly, right? Gene Kelly, his character. What is the name of the character? Give me a second. It's he's gonna drive me crazy. Danny McGuire. Now, here's the connection. We have Rita Hayworth in both films, right? Playing two different roles. Danny McGuire is he owns a club, and that club appears in a news article. If you know how they always did this, they would have a newspaper and you'd look at the headline, but there'd be other articles around.
Yeah, like the montage little thing.
So in Down to Earth, it references Danny McGuire's club in the newspaper. Okay, kind of the whole wink and a nod to the idea that they're in the same shared universe, right? So that would make you wonder, well, does that mean Rita Hayworth's character is still Terpsichore over at his club, right? And then let's fast forward.
Could this muse have had a child and the Rita Hayworth character is a descendant from thousands of years ago or something?
I suppose that's possible, but then let's jump ahead to the 1980s, right? Okay.
Let's go there. That's the French poster. Love that, don't you?
That's wonderful. That's Xanadu, right? Which we did do a rewatch, and I am almost certain we will do another rewatch of Xanadu, probably with CoverGirl. So So we have Danny McGuire is now much older. He's retired. And and Olivia
Is that
Newton-John.
him? Danny McGuire?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So he's playing the same character. And he kind of seems to recognize the Rita Hayworth looking girl, right?
Is that why she appears in this old-fashioned World War II style?
Exactly. They're very much poking at that whole cover girl thing. But this actual storyline, her and Sonny, the Michael Beck character, this story is a remake of Down to Earth. The whole Terpsichore comes to Earth, falls in love with a boy, the whole thing with the gods. So it is both a sequel to CoverGirl and a remake of Down to Earth. So this is a remake that does something completely different and completely new. Now, this movie bombed. It bombed terribly. And I think that is terrible because I think the marketing was off for this. I think the audience misunderstood what it was. They really should have played up the fact that Gene Kelly was literally reprising an earlier role. You know, you'd have brought more of the older audience in. The soundtrack to this movie is incredible with vocals by Olivia Newton-John and music by Electric Light Orchestra. These were some of the biggest songs of the year from this soundtrack. I mean, Magic was a #1 hit. So I would say that this is, and okay, so we're going to start poking at the other element of a possible remake. When you go from something that's not really a musical to something that kind of is a musical.
What is this?
That was some weird crap. They did a lot of weird crap in that last musical number. It was like a big video. Oh, that's right.
Animation? Like a Disney?
So
like
Don Bluth. Don Bluth did this great little, it was a music video within the movie to the song Suddenly, which was Newton-John and what was that bloke's name, the singer? I kind of liked him in the 80s too, and I can't remember his name.
I don't know. I haven't seen this. I do own the DVD. The DVD actually came with the bonus soundtrack.
Cliff Richards, of course. He was on the Andrew Lloyd Webber album that I like so much, doing a passable version of the Phantom. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted.
No, I just said I haven't seen this yet, but I think I own the DVD somewhere.
This
DVD came with a CD. It came with a CD soundtrack for the movie too.
Yeah, this whole bit here was I felt like it was very inspired by The Sword and the Stone. Remember where Merlin and Arthur turn into different animals and so on and so forth. It's Terpsichore and Sonny doing turning into the different animals and so forth. And of course, you get the kind of reversal of the Frog Prince kind of thing and whatnot.
I'm getting Secret of Nim vibe from all this. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Birds like they are.
And this was, this was right in that same era. So Don Bluth was really, on his game. And again, I think there's so many great things about this, but you could also argue maybe they tried to squeeze too much into it because they had this cartoon element, it had this musical element, it had this whole roller derby thing going on, but anyway.
And how many different bands did they have set up around the perimeter?
Oh, yeah. And of course they had what's his name? Somebody's in the chat's gonna get it. The bloke from Breakin'. He was one of the dancers. In fact, he was the choreographer for a lot of the dancers in the last segment. But Oh yeah, he was absolutely, and he does a tap in this movie as well. But yeah, this I love Xanadu. Like I said, it wasn't a commercial success, but it was a far better movie than I feel is given credit. So again, this is a complete transformation. It is a remake, but it's got a different title. There's a lot of different elements, and it is at the same time a sequel to a completely different movie.
Okay, but you like it?
Yes, Shabadoo. That's right. Not Boogaloo Shrimp, the other one. So yeah, Shabadoo. I don't remember his real name though. I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, so that's that one. What else we got?
All right, let me bring up the next set of slides.
Oh, I see how it goes. You
because they don't. I'll get yelled at. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Oh, the Super Terminator again. Okay, there we go.
Okay, yes, the fly. Of course, the original with what's his name? Vincent Price. Of course, I think they had to find a role for Vincent Price in every horror film back then, right? But yeah, I don't know how many of y'all ever saw the original Fly. I think a lot of people know the remake, but
I have seen the original. It's really good. It's
from 1958. James Clavell was in did the screenplay for it. It starred Vincent Price, Patricia Owens, and David Hedison. These are names I don't even remember, to be honest with you. The story is very hard hitting. It really is. And the horror comes, it's very difficult sometimes for me to gauge older horror films, right? Because they're not, to our sensibilities, they're not terribly scary, right?
And yet they hold up better than many older movies.
In a lot of ways they do, because there was a story element here that really does resonate, right? So real quick synopsis of the original 48 film. We've got a scientist, and they pull the whole not mad scientist trope, but ill-conceived scientist trope.
Pushing boundaries, like more like a Dr. Frankenstein from the original story. Yes.
And this whole idea of doing experiments in your house instead of in a laboratory under controlled conditions and all this kind of stuff. It's very, very, very weird. So he's a married man. He's got a son. They don't see him very much because he's down in the basement doing his experiments. And one of the experiments he's doing experiments in teleportation.
Yes.
And suddenly he's more withdrawn than usual. He doesn't come out. He won't take, and he starts passing notes to his wife to bring him, food prepared in a very certain way.
He said it was a rum and milk in a bowl with a straw. Remember when he said that? I think it was, or whiskey or something like that. It was some alcohol.
Yeah.
And what I used to listen to this podcast called Terror Transmission, and they would do audio commentaries for horror movies, and they did one for The Fly. And the guy who did the thing said that he showed his young son The Fly because he was trying to get into horror movies, but he didn't want to show him anything more, the R-rated stuff. He said that the kid was scared of this movie because when you see him come out, he's wearing like a bag over his head, and his son knew something was wrong.
Yes,
just based on the way he was acting.
It's the whole Alfred Hitchcock principle, right? You don't even see it. So when you do get the final reveal, he's got the head of a giant fly, and one of his hands is like in this claw, the kind that a fly would have, right? And he, like other films of the time, because you have a certain body part, there was this idea that body parts could think on their own. So his hand would be trying to do things, and he'd have to physically take control of the hand with his good hand and whatnot. And he's trying to, this error has happened because a fly got in, and he teleported with the fly, and he shouldn't have tested it on himself, and he did. That's always what the scientists in these movies do. And he got combined with the fly, and now he's trying to figure out a way to
Boy, that's later.
Well, but you find out, here he is with his fly makeup and his left hand is the fly claw.
Good makeup job. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's creepy for the time. Yeah.
For the time, it was incredibly creepy. It's the iridescent eyes that really make a big difference.
And he's starting to lose
he's losing his humanity. See,
yes,
that's the problem.
And he's trying to maintain. He says, we have to get the other fly back that has my
and that was the problem. It was two. The fly had a little bitty his head and a little bitty hand. So go ahead and
both back. Yeah, so that was it. Yes.
So pause it right there. So he's got the fly as the left hand, but so what happens is they are completely unable to find this fly that's gotten out of the house, right? How do you find a single fly in all the world, right? And he decides, I got to terminate the experiment, which means himself, right? Yeah. And he can't do it on his own, so his wife has to help him self-delete. And
with a ginormous fly swatter.
Kind of, it's a press, just like kind of like the Terminator, in the press. And so she has to literally help him end it.
Yeah, don't the police come by? What's going on here? They come by after this.
And she's explaining this whole story, right? Yeah. And the only way that they could, they're still trying to find this, right? And Vincent Price, who's like the friend or whatever to whom they're telling this whole story to, is in the garden sitting on a bench at the end of the movie, and he hears, "Help me, help me." And when he turns and he looks, he sees this fly in the spider's web about to be eaten by the spider.
With the human head.
With the human head. And the only thing he can do, he takes and crushes them both. It's like, I got to end this thing. It's the only thing I could do. But then he realizes he's as guilty of murder as she was, right?
It's more like the
horror of it comes from this element of it, this what you're forced to do because of the circumstance, right?
Yeah. So
I mean, it's just horrific all around, and it goes even beyond the monster story. It's the tragedy of it that's so terrible.
Remember the hint of something's wrong because he's trying to create a teleportation device, what they use on Star Trek. The transporter. Exactly. And he does this. Look, I'm going to take this plate and I'm going to transport the other. And he takes it out, and then the wife looks at it and says, "Oh, but the made in Cincinnati or whatever, it's written backwards on the reprint. Remember that?"
That's right. That's right.
Here's another scene where he decides, I think I got it right. We're going to teleport the cat.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yes.
He teleports the cat and he tries to bring it back, but he can't. It is lost in the ether. And later that evening, he hears the cat meowing.
Yes.
And where is it?
I have got to believe. I have got to believe that was a partial inspiration to Alan Moore when he did Watchmen.
Yeah.
I think that was a partial inspiration there. So yeah, why would you then get into this thing? You've already screwed up twice. Anyway.
I don't know. I think, in the well, then we get it had a sequel too, which I have not seen.
A sequel,
I think I own it
Return of
somewhere.
the Fly.
Yeah.
And that's going to be
there's Vincent Price.
Yes, and that's going to be a bit of an honorable mention. He gets a bigger role in it because the son grows up.
He was his brother, right? He was the scientist's brother.
I couldn't remember if it was brother.
Do you think he ended up marrying the widow after that? I kind of assumed that maybe.
I only ever saw this movie once on Svengoolie, so I don't really remember the details. But I do remember that the fly in question is, of course, the actual son of the scientist. And I bring that up because we'll get into it when we get into the remake, right? From 1986. This is the fly that most people associate with when you say the fly. Do you want me to advance it?
Go ahead.
Okay. So from 1986, from 1986, starring Jeff Goldblum. As Seth Brundle, right? and
Gina Davis.
Who I've just been thinking about a lot lately because Beetlejuice, right?
They were involved at the time too. They
Yes,
were romantically involved at
very,
the time.
very, very much.
Yeah.
But here's one of the shortcomings, in my opinion. Well, I'll get to that, right? So it's the same kind of thing, but they get much more realistic with the science behind it. He doesn't just swap a head and a hand. He comes out looking normal.
Yep. Because the DNA gets combined. That's what happens. Because the fly gets in there.
Exactly.
Instead of being this, they swap parts. It's more like their DNA. Combines.
So in this one, there is no second fly still flying around with his face on it. He realizes that something's gone wrong. He goes back and he checks his computer logs, and his computer said that there was a fly. Well, what happened to the fly? Absorbed. There is no Brundle. There is no fly. It's now just Brundlefly. And he is, because of the difference in metabolism between human and fly, he is very quickly starting to kind of, in a Kafka-esque sort of sense,
metamorphosis.
He is metamorphosizing.
At first, it's neat because he has all this energy. He's super strong, and it's almost like a superhero type thing, like Spider-Man. But then,
exactly, which is interesting because in Spider-Man 2099, they did a whole series back in the 90s where they took all the superheroes from Marvel and did generations later, versions of them. And this particular Spider-Man gets his powers in exactly this way. In from teleporting and being spliced with a spider, but he doesn't continue to metamorphosize. He just gets all these powers, and he's like, "Boy, I'm so glad I didn't go Seth Brundle on this one." Like it was, that was pretty good. But this gets into the whole Cronenberg. This is a Cronenberg film. Got very much into the whole body horror thing. So again, very much elevating with the special effects, the makeup, taking the horror to higher levels. I do think, however, and it even does come down to the very end where he's losing his humanity and he becomes a danger to the people around him. They add the element that eventually he can no longer eat solid food like a human. He can only eat like a fly. Those of you who know your basic biology.
Don't. You're going to make people sick.
Yep. I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah.
Does that image basically explain it?
It's an acid. So, if that were to be used as a weapon, that would be a very, very bad thing. Yes. And so he starts running scenarios with the computer, trying to figure out how he could. This isn't where I can go find the fly and maybe, separate us out. You can't be separated out because at the genetic level. So the best that they could do would be to redo the experiment with other humans to maximize his human DNA, which is also a whole different kind of horror. He's basically killing other people to try and fix himself. And so he becomes a danger to Gina Davis's character. He's trying to, because he finds out that she's pregnant, and we don't know if she became pregnant before.
I don't know when she became pregnant. Think about it too. It's not the only woman he slept with in this movie too. So
right.
Who knows if there's another.
So
I forgot to include clips of the pictures from the sequel. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it because I just meant it to be a mention.
Right.
And this is almost at the end. He's almost gone full fly, and his thought was, if you and the baby and me go through together, we could be the ultimate family. We'll all be one. And it's like, so at this point, he realizes he's far too gone. And the fly is almost completely taken over. And there's only a tiny, tiny bit of Seth Brundle still in there. And
tragedy. This is a tragic movie.
Completely unverbal, he communicates to her, you've got to end this. And she's got a shotgun in her hand, and again, she's the one who has to do it, But again, this is the one shortcoming of this movie. In the original, it's his wife, and they had a good relationship, and she loved him. So for her to have to kill him, terrible thing. This one, you try to argue with me that she loved him. I'm sorry, this was a hookup, and they started this kind of sketchy relationship.
It's Cronenberg. Cronenberg's weird.
Yes.
I like Cronenberg, don't get me wrong, but maybe
did Troy go over to King Kong movie remakes? Because they're not bad movies. I didn't.
We had to narrow it down. We had a whole bunch.
I had to.
We may do this again sometime.
We might remake this stream. So the point was that they decided they wanted to do a sequel. So there was The Fly 2. And after they don't even have, did they even have Gina in it? No, I think they used her footage from
the scene from the last one when she gives birth to the.
Yeah, she had a nightmare in the first movie, and they reused that footage of her giving birth. She dies.
It's a maggot, right? But then they open the maggot up, and it's a baby inside.
It's a baby inside. So you know that something's wrong.
And the kid's accelerating growth. He's like super smart, but
they keep him in this institute and whatnot. And
there's an evil guy running the corporation.
Yeah, without getting too much into the story, it's a completely different story than the sequel to the Fly. But it is the Son again. So in a way, it's kind of a remake as well. So
okay, this is actually an earlier comment which I don't recall you touching on. Midnight's Edge After Dark. Tom says, it's ironic you guys are talking about this right now. You have no idea.
I think it had to do with the Nosferatu talk. Tom might be doing something. Tom might be doing something involving Nosferatu because it was about Nosferatu.
I didn't realize. Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, I realized I was behind. I'm looking at chat comments. I saw that one.
Yeah. Well, I'll be keeping an eye out on Tom to see what he's got coming out. But yeah.
Yeah, he said I'm working on something related to this. Very related.
Good.
Well, we are getting another Nosferatu remake.
Yes, we are.
So that'll be absolutely interesting. So, yeah.
Let me look at my notes. Did I miss anything? Did we cover them? Oh, yeah.
One more.
Then just real quick, because this was one someone else brought up earlier.
Okay.
Are we on another deck? Okay, yeah. So the original Little Shop of Horrors, which I'm pretty sure that one fell into the public domain because I know it's on cheap DVDs now, and you can find it on YouTube. This was originally a Roger Corman film, as I recall, and not starring but featuring Jack Nicholson. It was one of his earliest roles. It may have been his first role. Yes, he plays the masochist who wants to go to the dentist and get his teeth drilled.
You be a dentist.
Well, we'll get to that. This was a non-musical, and I would call this a horror comedy. Yeah. It is kind of funny, but it's got a very tragic ending. Let's just say it. Seymour dies at the end. He kills. I mean, he's not the sympathetic character the remake portrays him to be. No, we'll get. That's actually from the remake.
Oh, it is.
Yes,
crap.
it is. I know because you saw it was black and white.
Wow, they really did a good job making it look like the original.
No. Yeah, that's actually for the. But the first victim after, and it's the whole. It's just like he drips some blood. He cuts himself, drips some blood. It revives the plant. So he starts cutting all of his fingers till he's kind of run out, and he's like, I've got to, find an option here. And he's under a lot of pressure. He's going to lose his job. He's going to be thrown out on the street. His boss isn't as nice in this, but he kind of waffles back and forth. When he's a screw up, you're an idiot. You're fired. Oh, wait a minute. Your plant is bringing people in. You need to take care of it. Okay, you're like my son. I'm going to adopt you. You're the best, and this and that. It's, his boss is very opportunistic. And when he realizes he's got to actually sacrifice somebody to this plant. His first victim, it's a prostitute. He goes and he finds a prostitute, clubs her over the head, and drags her in, and feeds her to the.
Seymour's bad.
He is, and later on, he goes to the dentist, who's kind of been very, very abusive to Audrey, who he's fallen for.
Okay.
Yeah. And he, just like in the remake, he goes and he gets an appointment with him, but he goes in and he shoots him. He just outright shoots him and then feeds him to the plant, right? And I think there was a couple others, like a couple girls that were selling Girl Scout cookies or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. But at the very end, he says, I can't, he's trying to get away from the police. They're chasing after him. His bosses identified him as, he's killed these people and whatnot. And he outruns the police. He ends up, when he gets back to the shop, he ends up running into the mouth of the creature or into the mouth of the plant and gets eaten himself. And when everyone comes in to see the plant, including his boss and Audrey, the plant has a bunch of little buds, and they open up and they flower, and inside the buds are the faces of the people who have died in the plant. And the biggest one in the middle is, of course, Seymour, and he's going, I didn't mean to do it. That's how it ends. Good movie, for what it was. But then there's the remake from 1982? 1982.
No, it was later. 85, I think.
I don't remember. But this was they turned it into a musical. They kept it very very much kind of in keeping with the original story. But then it didn't do real well with test markets. So they redid the ending and gave it a happy ending. But actually it goes a little bit darker, if you can believe it or not. First, they make Seymour a little bit more sympathetic. There's no prostitute that he kills. When he kills the dentist, they added this whole element where the dentist is he's addicted to his own nitrous
oxide.
Oh.
I'm slurring my words now. Nitrous oxide. Yes, it's laughing gas. And I don't know if you guys know much about how that works. They give you a little gas. It makes you giggly. You're kind of in a twilight, and you don't feel the pain as much. Well, it's kind of like playing around with helium. You breathe in helium, it constricts your vocal cords, so you sound like a munchkin, right? Which is all well and good, but you keep doing that, you get out of breath because all you're breathing in is helium and you're not getting any oxygen. And you'll pass out if you keep doing that. Well, he's got this mask on his face, and when Seymour pulls the gun on him, he starts laughing. He's like, no, wait a minute. Let me take this off. And then he can't get it off, and the thing breaks, and he's dying from his own, he's asphyxiating. If I don't get this off, I'm going to die. And he's laughing. And, it's kind of like a Batman thing. Well, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. And he lets him die.
Is there a thing with him and
yes,
the nice looking lady?
Well, okay. yes, it's very clear, and they take that romance because they had to have some good songs, right? And the whole Audrey getting, being in an abusive relationship, but she really likes Seymour, right? Mm-hmm. But she's got such low self-esteem, she thinks she doesn't deserve a nice guy. See, this is her problem through the whole movie. Well, so the boss figures out what's going on, and he he tries to blackmail Seymour. And they're in the flower shop. See, that's the same scene, just in color. And his boss is backing up, and he's like, don't. And then all of a sudden he backs up into the plant, and the plant eats him. So again, he didn't kill his boss.
You didn't have to save him.
Right. But then the original ending, when he's away, the plant attacks Audrey, and she's dying. He comes in time to save her, but she's dying, and she's not going to make it. She goes, you know what? Just feed me to the plant. I'm going to die anyway. And, you know, you can get rich and famous, and all your dreams will come true. And he does what she says. And he's so angry at the plant. You took the only thing that I loved. So he starts trying to kill the plant, but the plant kills him. And then all of the little sprouts start getting picked up by other people who take them away. And you know where this is going, and it ends up taking over the whole world, and everybody dies. And that didn't do well with test markets. So they backed it off, and they have him, kill the plant before he can kill Audrey. And then they live happily ever after, but they have a little spud of the plant out in their front yard.
Fine,
So
that's fine.
There's the possibility of the sequel happening anyway. But anyway, this is another example. This one is absolutely a remake that turns an original film into a musical. They actually took, after this movie was made, it
became a musical, right?
It actually became a musical, and I actually saw. There was a girl I was dating in school that she played Audrey in a little local theater version of it, and it was really cool. At the end, after everyone's dead and the chorus is singing about how the plant spread around the world and whatnot, at one point from the rafters and from the balconies, these vines unravel into the audience. It was like, oh my gosh, that's really pretty cool, So, but so those are several different kinds of remakes, but I think all of them take the original story and elevate them in some way.
Okay. I don't think I have any picks left for that one. Do you want to address any comments in the chat?
I've been trying to kind of hit them. So Jesse said, I hate to say it, but I love the remake. However, I'm trying to get my hands on a DVD special that has both endings. Yep. And fun fact, the alternate ending was once considered as lost media until they rediscovered it. Yeah, and then released it on Blu-ray. Yep, Feed Me Seymour, and all those elements. That comes from the musical. There's a lot of great songs that come out of that. Definitely worth it. We did a rewatch of that over on Big Al's channel a couple weeks ago. But you got a couple good remakes you want to share?
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah, this was one of mine, but I knew that if I had ones that you did, that'd be fine. Just one of us.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So this remake right here.
Yep.
This is a classic 1950s 50s film. And who is that? Is that Fred? Who the actor? Who is it?
I'm forgetting the actor's name, but he was in the remake too.
He does show up. We're talking about the original. This is, of course,
he's also mad as hell, and he's not going to take it anymore.
I forgot he was in that. I wanted to. That's another movie.
He was also in the Twilight Zone movie.
Network should have gotten a remake.
Yeah.
During the cable news era when it was CNN,
point.
Fox, and MSNBC. Some paper made a point. It would have been good to do a commentary on that. But here we go. We have what do we call it though? We have we have Glorious Black and White.
I don't mean to step ahead of you, but
step ahead of me.
Do you have The Thing on as one of yours?
No.
See,
they were inspired by the same story though.
We both thought about that, but a lot of people have talked about that, so we figured
we'd move on.
Kevin McCarthy. There you go.
Kevin McCarthy.
Actually, two got it first.
But here we go.
And there we go. This is a movie about
another killer plant from outer space.
Well, this is 1950s paranoia, right? Cold War is going on, so we have the metaphor of basically what we call pod people, whereas these pods land, they make a copy of you, and then you basically disintegrate, and then they take over as you.
Yep.
And they sort of act like you, but they're not you, right?
Interestingly, just as every other monster, creature, horror film, fantasy is lifted and turned into Dungeons and Dragons, there is an invasion of the body snatchers plant in Dungeons and Dragons called a doppelganger plant.
A doppelganger plant. So they must have stuck that in there from here.
Absolutely. This is where it comes from.
But everyone is afraid of these pods.
Yep.
These pustule pods that make copies of people.
Yeah. That whole concept of calling someone calling people pod people, that's where this comes from.
Yes. And it's pretty effective today. Has sort of a happy ending. The army shows up and saves the day and stops the
kind of like the ending of The Mist.
I've not seen The Mist, but I know about the ending. It's why I don't
that mess with your head.
No, I don't want to watch that movie. Anyway, here we go. But there we go, and nice looking lady there. And what did you like the original?
I did. I very much did.
The one thing about the original that bugs me is that this was not supposed to be shot in the scope ratio 2:3:5.
Okay.
But they had to crop it into that, I think, because the studio made them. So they were taking something that was not originally shot in that ratio and making it wider, which kind of bugged me. And I keep wondering, is there an original version out there that I guess is more of the matted type format?
Good question. Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I just don't know. But I don't know. Anything left to say about the original?
No.
We got the remake here.
Yep. It was 1970. Gosh, what was it?
78.
78. Okay. Yeah. Donald Sutherland.
You like Donald Sutherland? What does he play in this? What is his job?
Don't tell me he's a professor.
He's a health inspector.
Oh, health inspector.
Remember he stops by the restaurant and he.
Oh, that's right. The whole thing with it's spice. Then eat it. Then eat it.
Rat turd. It's a caper. It's a rat turd. Eat it.
Yeah.
And he's a cook at home. He's got a girlfriend. We have a bit of a cast in this. Look at this: Leonard Nimoy, Jeff Goldblum. What's going on here?
Again, Jeff Goldblum is in 2 remakes that we're talking
doing tonight.
That was just a coincidence.
But there we go. Look at that. This is sort of how the pod people look. I think they are able to stop this from happening because when you fall in this movie, when you fall asleep, and I guess it's like the original, when you fall asleep,
they kind of like reach into you and they kind of take whatever genetic material and your memories and
then
stuff.
Then you kind of shrivel up, right? Yeah. In fact, I think there's a scene where one of the characters, that he gets her after she's made a copy, but then she kind of crumples in his hand.
Oh, right? Did you know that the director makes a cameo?
Interesting, of the original, yeah, and so does the lead actor when he's saying "You're next, you're next," it's taking it off of the original of one of the original endings when he's running around yelling "You're next, you're next" before they tacked on that army ending where they saved the day. It's I bet that was supposed to be the original ending to the movie, and the studio said test audiences don't like that. Have the army come in and save the day, but it's kind of neat how it sort of takes off where the original left off, right?
Yeah, that idea of the happy, sappy ending for a lot of these kinds of movies. It's a very common trope.
So it is a remake, a sequel, a requel, as they said in that one Scream movie. I don't know. But there's the famous scene at the end. Yeah. So Donald Sutherland, they're very good at evading.
Right. So what happens is why this is so crucial is because you have this small group of people that have figured out what's going on. It becomes very Cold War-esque, conspiracy theory thing going on, and some people have figured out what's going on, and Donald Sutherland's working with some other people, and when they meet up at the end, she's like, she sees the one person she thinks she can rely on, and then this happens, and she realizes, oh crap, he's he's gone too, and now they're after me.
And he does but what's so creepy about that is, what does he do when he sees her?
He
What
makes
does
this
he do?
howling noise and points.
It's like an unearthly howling noise.
Yeah.
And it's like, they've gotten to him. At first, you don't know that he's been taken over, because basically it ends with him running off and escaping them. And one of the guys says he has to sleep eventually.
Yep, exactly.
I'm going to get you, Barbara.
Exactly. Yeah. This is another example, black and white film that was cut, that was redone in color, cool special effects, kind of elevates the story, bigger budget. And yeah, the cast makes a difference, really, really good cast. Really did elevate it. It's the same basic story with a different ending. Yeah, great example.
Yeah. But next we have
Jesse's saying, what about Night of the Living Dead? That could be a whole stream in and of itself. Let's save that.
I didn't do Night of the Living Dead because I decided to do a different Romero remake, which was The Crazies, because I considered Night of the Living Dead, and I really do like that remake. I think it's a great companion to the original movie. But I decided to go with The Crazies. This is a fictional movie, by the way, YouTube. I mean, this is not based on any real-life scenario. This is completely fictional.
Oh,
the plot of The Crazies is about a government-made pathogen that gets loose by accident in a small town in America.
What year was this film made?
73. It was
a
virus named Trixie, and it makes people go insane, and sometimes they turn homicidal on each other.
This is after the whole LSD thing. This is after they were.
I think Agent Orange might have been an inspiration for this too.
They sprayed the West Coast with poison to see how it. Yeah, this is stuff the government. This and I'm not talking about conspiracy theories. This is all declassified stuff.
Yes. And in this, of course, the feds come in, and it's kind of almost like a local government versus federal government in this movie, because the locals are more compassionate.
Can you imagine in a situation like this where people are dying and diseases and you start having jurisdictional issues? Imagine that. Some states telling the feds to get out, others, going, yeah, vote, whatever you say,
Yes. So anyway, here we go. I forget this character's name, but he was a local firefighter, and he's on the run because basically they start rounding people in town up.
Yeah.
And start putting them all in the school, which is, of course, a disaster because maybe people who aren't already infected might get infected by those that are infected.
Gee, imagine that. Telling people, you gotta stay in the hospitals, you gotta stay in the old folks' home, you gotta stay in.
This movie, I didn't care as much when I saw it when I was younger. Upon rewatching it in recent years, I found it oddly prescient. I don't want to say why, but there's some great social commentary in this movie. So maybe less of a horror movie than he usually did, even though there's some spooky elements in it, like the grandma that's sewing, like doing the needlework, and I think she stabbed someone in the house to death with the needles or something. And there's another crazy gentleman, it looks like, or maybe that's just someone who's angry.
Jesse brings up a great question. Who do you think would win? The pod aliens or the creature from John Carpenter's The Thing?
I don't know. But that's a young lady in the
Could
movie.
they form a symbiotic relationship?
I don't know.
That could be interesting.
But anyway, the original is a great little film. It's worth a rewatch. Better than I expected. But I remember they were going to do a remake of this.
Okay.
And I was like, well, it's a Romero movie. But this was in 2010. We were far into the War on Terror.
Yep.
I had my own issues with how that was being handled at the time. But we have, of course, they're out in the woods, and of course, this movie has a twofold enemy. You have basically the feds who maybe they act benevolent until they start shooting, showing guns at people. Then you also have the infected people that have gone insane and are attacking you. So you have two fronts. If you're don't have the disease, you have to worry about doing this. They did remake this movie back in 2010. Timothy Oliphant is in it.
See, I did not know that this was a remake, and I never actually saw this.
They're both worth watching. If you saw this first, that's okay. It's not reliant on you watching the original. I think that I think they took what I thought was a kind of a thriller, maybe a little creepy, because if you think about the original Night of the Living Dead, one of the theories was, there's a virus making people go crazy. It's not Living Dead. And, well, of course, that's not the case in Night of the Living Dead. It really is that they're zombies. But I think he took that idea of a virus that makes people go crazy and then used it for this movie. Do you understand? George Romero did. But knowing the remake was directed by Michael Eisner's son, Breck. Oh, that's interesting. Well, I'll give Breck Eisner credit. He did a good movie. So that's a
great image for a poster, a teaser.
Look at this. This is a sign welcoming you to the small town. Looks like it's riddled with bullet holes with "Help Us" written possibly in blood on there. Yep. Yikes. In fact, that "Help Us" reminds me of the sign they did in Nolans, which was another another government-run rescue that people thought maybe could have been handled better. But
I have to agree 100% with Reagan when he says, the scariest words you could hear. Someone coming to your door and saying, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help."
That's basically what happens in this movie. And it's like, well, we already have our local government helping us out. Because I got the feeling that George Romero isn't against local government, but I don't think he liked Fed. I think he had a problem with
anyone with a brain will tell you the closer you get to home, the more they're going to understand your problem and care about you. Right? So, I mean, the feds don't know or care about your situation. The state police, your local police, okay, they might actually even be going to church with you, right? But your family, okay. So the closer you get, the more you have invested in those people. This is why the concept of socialism works great for families.
There's a funny
church groups, but it doesn't work so well as a federal government.
Actually, I assume you may end up watching The Crazies someday, so maybe I won't spoil this one scene in it, which I think you'll find funny. So I'll leave that. Let's get to the remake. Remake. Everything's fine in this nice small town. You have the sheriff here, played by Timothy Oliphant. He's married to a lady doctor in town, and they're trying to start a family. And at the ball game, this guy shows up with a shotgun. And Timothy Oliphant, look, you showing up to the ball game with a gun, and Fred is like, you're drunk. It's okay. Put the gun down. And the guy's like, come on, put the gun down. And then finally, the guy keeps walking toward him, and he says, because he's actually trying to de-escalate the situation, saying, "You're drunk. It's okay." And finally, this guy raises the gun to point at our sheriff here, and he just has to shoot him dead. And he didn't want to do that, but when that happens, he had to react. And, he's talking to the family. "I'm really sorry." And the wife says, "He's not drunk. He quit that 2 years ago. He's real proud." And then she slaps him, and their son is there, and it's all uncomfortable scene. Yeah. This is a gentleman later on in the movie who seemed to be acting strange, and then he decides to lock his wife and son in the closet that they're hiding in, and then proceeds to set the house on fire. Something weird is going on here. A bunch of hunters nearby river. They find a dead paratrooper there. And Timothy Oliphant, sheriff, he goes out looking, and turns out that there's a crashed plane there. And he kind of puts two and two together. He's saying people are acting weird. My wife, who's the doctor, can't figure out why these people are acting funny. This water, and he's like, "Where does this water in this river go or lake go?" And they say, "Oh, it filters out to the drinking water." And he's like, he goes up to the town mayor, and he's like, "We got to shut the drinking water off." He's like, "This is farmland. You're going to kill the crops." No dice, the mayor says. And guess what he decides to do? "I'm shutting it off anyway." He basically says, "I don't care if it costs me my job. I'm done." Yeah. But unfortunately, by then it's too late because the virus has spread around town. People are acting weird. They're like, he goes to the local mortician, and he finds the mortician, and his lips and eyes have been sewn shut. And there's a scene where he's clipping open the mouth. And then the mortician says, "Right behind you." And then he turns around, and it's one of the, I don't know if it's Lois, the town coroner, is trying to attack him and kill him. And it's just people are acting weird. And then eventually, it's not long before the feds show up. You got army, you got people running around in hazmat suits, pointing guns at you like in the original.
Mark says, as Kayla stated, "I have returned."
But this was a good remake of a Romero classic, because I think what he did, I think when people went to see the Romero classic, they were expecting more of a horror movie, whereas I think he leaned more into like the kind of the social commentary thing, not so on your nose, because he wants you to make. Romero wants you to make up your own mind.
We have obliquely referenced the influences on a lot of these movies. A lot of times they're very topical.
Yes.
So this whole idea of movies having a message, in and of itself, not a bad thing, and has always been. But that is not what makes something woke.
No.
Two completely different things.
It's being topical versus telling people what to think on the topic.
Yeah.
Both versions have merit. I agree with you, deleted scenes. I think they're both great movies.
I think that's kind of the point of all of these. They all have merit. I do feel that some of these remakes elevate the story. And I'm just pointing out that there are films that I don't think any of these films that we've mentioned were so good that they were sacrosanct. You know, we wouldn't call them such classics that you couldn't touch them, right? Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that people point out. There are some films, once it's made, you look at it and go, that should not be remade. Back to the Future should never be remade. The Wizard of Oz should never be remade. You know, I mean, these are classic films. You cannot elevate them. They are already perfect. But these movies that we have been looking at were really good. But someone looked at it and said, I think I can do better. And there wouldn't be an outcry of people saying, no, that's sacrilege. And it's like, okay. And they did it, and it was great. And then someone goes, oh, this is a remake? And then they go seek out the old one, and they go, oh, that one was pretty good too.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
That's what works. I mean, sometimes remakes complement the original, like the Night of the Living Dead remake, which I didn't do here. Maybe I will do that if we ever do this again. But that was originally one of my picks, and I said, no, I'm going to do the Crazies instead. But I think this is a great movie. 2010, not that old. Well, at least not by my standards.
Yeah. No, you're right.
But and oddly prescient. There's a wonderful scene in it where the sheriff actually confronts one of the government guys, and he's like, you know, well, what's it called, Trixie? It was meant to destabilize a population, not this one, because obviously it was probably going to be used for warfare.
Yep.
Do you understand? And he's like, well, we have to stop it. Do you want a worldwide pandemic? The guy says, and I'm thinking, things I'd like to say right now. I'm not relating this to current events, YouTube, just so you know. Okay, not at all. This is fiction.
The Blob. There's other channels that are adjacent to ours that have talked about that a whole lot.
That's a great remake too. And you notice the common theme here. We're doing a lot of horror movies.
Yeah.
Because I think horror movies tend to be made, not all the time. We've had bad horror remakes.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, when they go to remake a horror movie, it's because they actually do love the original, but they felt there was a way they could update it and make it interesting.
And I would say that what we kind of alluded to it when we were talking about The Fly. The idea of what makes for something scary has changed, right? So what we thought was scary as kids, when we get older, we look back and go, okay, yeah, that doesn't really hold up. If I was to show this to my kid, they probably wouldn't be scared of it. The thing is that yes, you can do that, but you got to know how to scare people. You know, Blumhouse has had kind of been hit and miss with this kind of thing. They've done some remakes that were like, you didn't improve it. So a lot, you know, we didn't want to get into the movies that weren't good remakes, but there were a lot of horror remakes that weren't. The remake of the Amityville Horror, the remake of Psycho, the remake of Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, these are all movies that were good enough, didn't need to be remade, and you didn't stick the landing.
Nope. Yeah, that's what happens.
You know?
When you're just remaking something to make a quick buck. instead of remaking it because you have a love of the material and a love of film and you want to do it that way. Because we've had plenty of remakes. Movies get remade all the time. People forget that Maltese Falcon, which is considered a classic, that was the third remake when that came out.
Yep, you're right.
A Star is Born classically gets remade, like supposed to be remade every 20 years. They missed the version in the 90s. They were going to do one too, but it didn't. It was going to be about the hip hop scene. That
would have been terrible.
But they were planning to do one.
Didn't they just recently do one with Lady Gaga?
Yes, they did. It was about pop music. Yes.
Yeah.
I think they went from Hollywood, then later to pop music. The idea is they redo the same story.
I have very little interest in that story because
you don't have to like it. It's kind of depressing.
The first version I saw was with Barbara Streisand, and I just can't stand her.
That's considered the worst one. Brett Easton
Well,
Ellis.
Good. I don't feel so bad for not liking it.
I think the Judy Garland one was pretty good, but current events are scary enough. Well, the thing is, though, I don't know. I like a good horror movie, and this was a good one, and it's a good remake. So,
Mark makes a great point because you got to think, why do we enjoy horror films? Sometimes it's because you're seeing a movie that's about something you're scared of, that you have anxiety about, and you want to see people trying to overcome it. If they fail to do so, you don't feel so bad, if you fail. But when you see somebody, survive at the end or overcome the baddie or whatever, you feel like, okay, well, there's hope. There's hope, right? Also, it comes down to the whole theory of why do we dream? Why do we have nightmares? There's one theory that your brain makes up scenarios about things that you are anxious about to give you an opportunity to work through those in a safe environment. Being chased by the monster, trying to survive, in the desert, your house is burning down, you got to get out, stuff like that. It causes you to think about being in that circumstance before you're actually in that circumstance. Some of these movies are conscious versions of that.
Yeah.
How many times have you been to a horror movie, especially with your friends? Don't go in there. Don't go in there. Don't back up into the dark room. All these kinds of, don't split up so you can be killed individually. All of these survival instincts you have, you see someone not doing that so that hopefully if you're ever in a scary situation, and you're not going to be attacked by some immortal revenant slowly killing all of your classmates. But there are crazy people in this world that you could find yourself in a life or death situation with,
Oh, look at this. Geek Flag says, I'll tell you one horror movie that the original and the remake was absolutely terrible. Rosemary's Baby, extremely boring. I didn't even know they remade that. Oh, they did it as a mini series. That's right. I forgot who was in that. I did not like the original. I know some people love it. I don't like that. Omen's much better. That's my.
Of course, the Judy Garland one is good. It's Judy Garland. I haven't even seen it, and I know it's good because it was freaking Judy Garland. Yes. No, you're not wrong there. And I'll tell you, maybe that's the other thing. Okay. Judy Garland, and she's followed up by Barbara Streisand. Yeah, screw that.
All right, Troy. So what do you want to do now?
Okay. Did you get through all of yours? Okay.
I did. Do you want to do what we would do yet, or do you want to save that?
Yeah, no. Let's go ahead. Let's. I mean, if you don't mind,
I don't mind.
You guys that are still with us, if you don't mind, we're gonna go a little longer than the usual 2 hours. We're at the 2 hour mark. We're gonna go in and we're gonna talk about some of these others. So. Do you have slides for that, or we?
Yeah, I got to set them up. Hold on.
Oh wow! You look at you all professional and all prepared.
Professional. Not really. I should have done this while I was doing the other one, but I was talking, so that was why. Let me do a PDF of 4, and I'll get 5 up in a second. But these are now our own ideas. If we were to remake a movie, I'm going to get yelled at for a couple of mine, I'm sure.
Now, I do feel like we do have to preface this and say these are movies. Think about the ones we just talked about. The original movies were good, but we think that a modern remake could elevate them. But as I said in my monologue,
if it has the right director and the right actors,
some of the morons in the entertainment industry right now could not do it. I would not want to see any of these happen right now.
I have one possibility, and I'm going to get into trouble for the one, but let's go ahead and do this. Okay. Good. I use my fake name there. Films that should be remade, maybe.
Yes.
I put that in parentheses. Troy's picks.
Yeah. So
Logan's Run.
And I'm not alone in this one. A lot of people have brought this up. One of the pitfalls to movies like this. Hold it right there, right? Here, Farrah Fawcett. We got Farrah Fawcett here. We got Jenny Agutter, right?
You need actors and actresses of the same caliber. Yeah,
exactly. And look, you could say this movie was very much of its time. It was what, 1970
yes,
something?
I think it's 70. I think it's 1970.
Yeah. And I've said this about her before. Jenny Agutter, I think her breasts were afraid of the dark. Because they just come out in every movie she's in. I want to suggest you check out Walkabout, but there's a problem with that movie that you probably shouldn't be checking it out. But anyway, yeah. Let's just
I think there's a Criterion edition of that, isn't there?
Let's just say it was okay for her to do that movie at the time.
Well,
wouldn't be appropriate now.
Yikes, I'm now thinking of other movies like that.
So anyway,
Michael York.
There was an element to this movie. Well, look, they didn't shy away from nudity in this film. And it was very much because of, think about the second Matrix movie where they had the rave and everyone's getting naked and it turns into an orgy. That licentiousness, that debauchery is very much an important part of the story. If you get all PG-13 about it because of modern sensibilities, you're going to lose something, that really did elevate this movie. But other than that, so what is this story? It's a story it's a sci-fi story set in a future. We don't know the history that leads to this world, but we have a domed city that is very much like we just saw in Blake 7 the other day. I even referenced this movie then. You're cut off from the outside world. No one goes out into that world. You live surrounded by technology, very sterile. And people are all very young and healthy and attractive, and they have no problem. So they have their own version of OnlyFans in this future, except for OnlyFans. They call it being, what was it, like on the grid or something like that?
Okay.
And you would go and you'd look for this girl or a guy or whatever you're interested in. And then you'd hit the button and they'd come out and physically be there like a transporter or like a replicator or whatever. And it was more realistic than an OnlyFans kind of experience.
Yeah.
But the whole shtick
a lot is fake about that, but about
the whole shtick of it is that they live fast, they die young, or they don't know they're dying young. They've created this artificial religion called carousel. When you hit, what was it, 30 years old?
30, I think.
30, you've got this little timer in the palm of your hand. When you hit 30, it starts to blink. And you're supposed to go to carousel, where you are lifted up into the sky with anti-grav, and you crash into a force field that incinerates you, and you're killed. But everyone believes that you're being renewed. You're being renewed. And if they were to go to the neonatal unit, they'd see all the people that were being renewed, being reborn, with these clear crystal versions. And you only live to 30 and then you die. When you're in a very confined domed city, they have to control population, and this is how that's done.
I'm curious, are the babies that are in this area, are they clones of the people being incinerated?
That would be very interesting, but they never mention that.
So that might be something for a remake.
They kind of imply that actually, I don't know that they even show.
Okay. Because
what the
do women
method
get
is.
pregnant and have children naturally? Is
They
that a thing
didn't
that
show
happens?
it in the movie,
Okay.
so you don't
Yes.
know that. Yeah,
All
that's
right.
a good point. There was a series that was made based on this.
Yeah, I thought about showing clips, but I decided not to.
Nah, it's not necessary. The only thing that was interesting about that was that you find out that there are some older people. They take the place of the shadow government, the deep state, right? These people behind the scenes running everything. But that wasn't an element of this movie.
Okay, but it's not an element in this movie.
Yeah.
So everyone, they get incinerated, so there's no overpopulation, and you have a good 30 years, and then you...
But as you would expect, there's always people that question, right? That question the authority, they question the concept of this carousel and renewing. So they rebel, and they rebel by running.
And Logan has just turned 30, right? Is that what happens?
Well, no, actually he hasn't. He's got a couple years left.
Oh, okay. Has she turned 30?
And in order to have him do an investigation for the central computer, the central government, whatever, to track down Sanctuary, the place that these runners claim to be going to, they say you need to become a runner. So they take away his remaining years.
Oh.
And he's trying to get an answer. Well, what happens? Am I going to get my years back? And no one answers. Yeah, it's kind of a BS kind of situation. So he becomes a runner because he has to, which means his partner is now trying to retire him, and he becomes kind of like an Ahab type of character. And he has to get out of the city, and he's got he finds out that the underground organization wears the Ankh, the symbol of life, right? And he knows that this Jessica that he pulled down off the grid was wearing this, so he's like, maybe she knows somebody. She introduces him to somebody, and they have a series of side quests, so to speak, to get out of the city, only to find out there is no sanctuary. If people get out, and nobody seems to have gotten out of the city, it's just wilderness out there. So yes, you can survive, but you'd have to start society all over again. But coupled with that knowledge, he comes back into the city and tries to convince everybody, look, you don't have to die. We don't even have to stay in the city, and there's a whole denouement.
He's young in this, huh? Michael York?
He really was young. He wasn't under 30.
He looks like he's 30. He looks like he passed for 30.
Yeah.
Passed for it, yeah. But I've not seen this, but why do you want to remake it? That's my next question to you.
So I do think there's a lot of great things that they could do with this. I think there's just some of the conversation that we were having about this story. There's elements of this story that would have been interesting. One line or two would tell you where the babies come from. Like I said, the series had this shadow government of older people, but you could just as easily have a central computer running everything on automatic, so to speak. That would be an interesting element to it. They really could improve the special effects. The cityscape in this movie is done with a miniature, and you can very much tell it's a very well done miniature, but it definitely could be improved on. And I think the way they end it, although good, seems anticlimactic. I think there's more they could have done with it. Plus, there's big elements in this movie that are very 70s, very acid trippy, that they can kind of do away with.
Well, but, it was the time.
Yes. But the other thing is that as much as this is beloved in some sci-fi corners, it's not so classic that it would be considered sacrilege to remake it. And I think there's a lot of people that would love this story and find it very interesting if it was reintroduced to them.
Big Al Presents says they mentioned seed mother, birth by artificial means, so population growth can be strictly controlled.
Yeah,
that's why I'm saying it'd be interesting if the people getting incinerated would just get cloned again as children. it would be very bizarre though. It'd be like this weird cycle.
Yes.
Like it would be. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny you say that because you almost get the feeling that that's the way the story should have gone because his name is Logan 5.
So there have been 4 others.
There were 4 Logans before him.
Maybe they're just 4 other. Maybe they just reconstitute DNA. It's a new person each time, but maybe it's the same person.
It could be that they're recycling the name. When Logan 5 gets retired, the next baby that's born is called Logan 6.
Now I'm thinking of THX. I think they did the same thing in that THX. What is it? 1138. They reused the names. But So yeah, I mean,
well, welcome by the way, Tim. He's pointing, and it was Jessica 6. The partner was Francis 7. Mary 2 was a character. Yeah, very good memory there, Tim. Good on you.
So
there.
Weird. Logan 5.
Logan 5, yeah. Black Hole, which kind of is a remake of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Kind of.
If you think about it.
Except I like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I'm sorry.
You didn't like Black Hole? Yeah. Black Hole.
I'll admit that it's one of these movies where I see potential.
Yes. See, this is another one. This one, I'm trying to remember. Somebody in the chat, if you already know or if you could look it up, I'm under the impression that this movie did not do very well.
No.
This was a Disney film.
And it cost a lot to make, too.
They were trying to break into the sci-fi market after the success of Star Wars.
Yeah, but it did start production before then. I think the idea was they wanted to do an Irwin Allen style movie, but they would set it in space instead. Right. So it was like you had all those Irwin Allen disaster movies, and of course you had Lost in Space, which was also an Irwin Allen production. Right. And I think this was their idea, kind of tapping into it. And obviously, when Star Wars came out, they might have retooled some of this. Yes. But it did start out before Star Wars came out. Yeah.
But I think this came out closer in time to I want to say that Star Trek: The Motion Picture was
like 79. It might have been 79. It was around that time. Yeah. Nice effects though. Look at those. Look at that model work, huh?
That is pretty cool.
I like it. This is almost like, I guess, this movie's version of the Nautilus. This station, and what are they doing? They're observing black hole. I know this is one that Neil deGrasse Tyson loves to pick apart science-wise.
Yeah, my biggest problem with it is number one, we've learned so much about black holes since then.
Yes.
So you got to give that some grace. The other thing too is Neil deGrasse Tyson is he's iconoclastic about science.
Sure he is.
He makes it almost religious. He believes the current thing. And a true scientist is always skeptical.
Yeah.
You've seen enough time. Look, Neil, for crying out loud, because I know you watch this channel. Well, it's not that funny. It could be.
You never know.
Right. He has lived long enough to see the concept of the black hole being a literal black hole in space so dense that light can't escape, to come to realize, no, it actually is, it filters light around it. So it's very bright, but although it's not light coming from the black hole itself, it's focusing light from behind it. And it's also giving off radiation, which,
interesting.
Before Dr. Hawking, and by the way, it's called Hawking radiation, named after Dr. Hawking. He completely changed the way we look at black holes. So if you're going to be so rigid about this is the science and this is the way it is, sure, until we learn something new. Get over it, pal. You don't know because you're not God, so deal with it.
Anyway, but we have Robert Forster.
I do not like him. Just
I'm not as harsh on him, but I understand why you don't like him. Yeah. Robert Forster's there. We also have Anthony Perkins in the background. You can't see him that well, unfortunately. Great. We have a great cast here. Yep. The robot there is played by Roddy
McDowell.
McDowell.
Oh, Roddy McDowell.
Not Roddy.
Right.
Yeah, Roddy McDowell.
Roddy McDowell, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Not Ronnie. Ronnie was the singer, right?
Yes. I almost thought I said Malcolm McDowell because my brain's getting fried.
Oh,
anyway,
okay, I got you.
So you have an exciting cast. You also have Ernest Borgnine.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Well, because you couldn't have a disaster film in space without Ernest Borgnine.
So I think that was probably how it was originally sold. Now I don't know if they started adding these robots and things after the success of a certain Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I suspect.
So maybe some things got retooled.
Yeah.
Those are some scary looking droids, man.
Yep. Yeah, they are.
This is like a haunted horror show in space. This this space station.
Yeah.
I do not like it. There is our villain. What was his name again?
Nemo. I don't know.
Maximo or Maximilian. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that. Maximilian. Something.
He's basically the Nemo character.
He's Nemo, except. And he wants to study the black hole, and I think he eventually wants to go into it. Yep. Isn't that what he wants to do eventually? And he has a bunch of other hooded robots on the ship, which we never get. They're kind of have these metal, like these kind of almost mirrors on their faces. You can't even see. We learn more about them as the movie goes on, much to our horror. Because of course the crew they all died already. Only he remains, right? And the young lady's father, who's part of the expedition, went on this.
They did make some toys of this. They were in that 3 3/4 inch scale with they used the same kind of tooling as Star Trek the Motion Picture. Those
yes,
they had
I think I had a couple of these toys actually.
They had jointed metal pinned jointed elbows and knees, which made them had more points of articulation than Star Wars toys. Those were the precursors to the G.I. Joes of the 80s. Yes.
My thought on remakes: take a bad movie that had potential and remake it, leave good movies alone. Well, exactly. I would argue this may be the case in this movie. Troy is probably more fond of it than I am. I know people love this movie.
This is probably one of those ones that we could have actually even talked about when we did the rose
tonally off for a Disney production. Yeah, and I don't want to say that Disney can never make an R-rated movie. They do have distribution companies that are supposed to put out more mature content. They had Touchstone Pictures. They had Hollywood. I mean, I don't know what the heck they own now, because
Disney
they're all
Plus
over the place.
Now.
Agatha all along.
Yeah.
Someone argued, why do I get to see
Agatha all hanging out? Apparently,
why do I get to see her butt? But they mess up. They buzz out Daryl Hannah's butt.
Some moron on the interwebs tried to make an argument about, well, that was a movie, and this is what was it?
No, there is no difference. One is there's no difference. That was same thing. There's no consistency. And I'm like, either no consistency.
Either you're offended by butts and you're not going to show them, so you don't do it on your TV show, or you leave Daryl Hannah's butt alone.
It's the human anatomy. People need to get over it.
Well, apparently it was even worse than that. Apparently, there's the implication that a young female person living across the street saw her and found that. Very much to her liking. Yeah, the parents are not too happy with Disney.
Look at this android.
That would be if they had done. I don't think they did an action figure of this particular one. No. I would want some of those because
that was the sharpshooter. Remember?
That would be like the Dark Troopers version 1 from the video game. In my opinion,
the evil droids in this, I almost wish had shown up as evil droids in some of the Star Wars movies.
I know, right?
Designs.
Yes,
I don't mind them. This one I don't like as much. Is this the country one that got damaged? Remember, he had a country accent. What was his name?
No. This one was the
Roddy McDowell one
version. Yeah,
they had and I know his name. He was called. I think Slim Pickens did his voice. I remember when I was watching this, I'm like, he sounds like Slim Pickens, and it is Slim Pickens.
Yeah,
it's all. Yeah. But why do you want to? So, but anyway,
in a way, they kind of did do a remake of this. It was called Event Horizon.
I guess they did. I didn't even think about that.
But I think that along the lines of Event Horizon, they could remake this movie, and maybe not take it to that much of a horror extreme.
Event Horizon is a movie where apparently there was a lost version of it that we'll never see. That was a lot.
Oh, the droid
horrible.
that Slim Pickens did the voice of was Bob.
Bob.
And by the way, welcome Space Fraggle. And let me tell you something. That is an awesome name. Space Fraggle. That is just brilliant.
Welcome.
Sadly, also a franchise owned by Disney.
Yes. But yeah, here we are. And why did you like this movie when it came out? You must have seen it in theaters.
It was
right?
very much the coming off a Star Wars thing for me.
You're looking for the next big science fiction.
It was also,
movie. Yeah.
It came out right at the same time as Star Trek the Motion Picture. There were some I don't want to say related elements, but some of the special effects seemed very similar. It had a very similar aesthetic that kind of appealed to me. So, and yeah, but I think they could elevate it.
Okay, so you would remake this though, and just make it more.
And see, John's agreeing with me. I love Black Hole. It would be a great blueprint. Blueprint. I think you mean blueprint for a remake. But yes. Absolutely.
Who would remake it though? It'd have to be Disney. Would they turn it into a Disney Plus series?
Not only did I see it on HBO, I got the DVD. My brother was a huge fan, and I had gotten the DVDs for him. And unfortunately, I have re-inherited those.
Yeah,
so
sad.
Yeah. My brother. So you're probably. My brother was a little bit older, but yeah.
Well, your brother was also special needs, so he had the mind of a child.
True. That's very true.
Would you change anything about this movie for the remake? Get rid of anything?
Well, I am a big one that gives a lot of grace to older films as far as pacing of the films. Yeah, that
weird ending.
That ending was very strange.
What?
They were almost 2001ing this one. It was just bizarre. So definitely I'd change the ending a bit. I would change the pacing. I think there was a lot of, and I would actually say the same thing about Star Trek the Motion Picture. There was a lot of space opera elements that didn't...
Similar pacing issues, yes.
Yeah. They and this was a 70s thing. Look, older people like slower paced films back then, and you need to punch it up a little bit. You have 2 hours to tell a story. You can get a lot of story in if you economize your time. So
what I don't get is I feel like the story is almost coming to an end, and then suddenly we get this another half hour where they're running through the station, everything's falling apart, and I'm like,
yes,
it almost feels like a different movie at that point, and I'm like,
and I think you're exactly right. That's them saying, "Oh, we forgot we were going to do, we were going to make this a disaster film, so we got to put the disaster element in."
I think that was the problem, throwing the disaster film stuff in there. I think if they had left it with,
if you're going to do
he gets
that,
torn down by his own creations, and they get out of there before they get sucked into
part
the
of
black
the
hole.
overall story. Don't make it. Yeah, it needed to be better integrated.
They wanted. They're right. That's going through the black hole. That was 2001 stuff. Yeah, no.
I mean, if they would have ended it with, the ones that escape, and everyone else falls into the black hole and they're just assumed dead, leave it at that.
Don't, not a remake on Forbidden Planet.
No, I agree. That
the way it is. No, I wouldn't remake Forbidden Planet either. No.
Which actually was an adaptation of The Tempest.
Yes. Big fan of Forbidden Planet. No, I don't want them touching that one. It's hard because you can like a movie and maybe I was having a very hard time with this myself, because I'm like, if a movie's good enough when I saw it, why do I want it remade? And if I didn't like the movie, why do I want it remade?
You know what actually
it's
would
like
be,
this.
as far as the Forbidden Planet goes, you know what actually would be good?
What?
A kind of sequel where you recast all the characters and you do it in that 50s
Universe
style.
Yeah.
In that 50s style with the same kinds of props and
I'd
costumes, and you know, that would be really neat.
That was a big effects movie for the back in the day. They spent money on that, and a lot of the animations in it were actually done by the Walt Disney Company. They were on Lone Damn Jam.
This explains a whole lot. They didn't have the ending written until they were about to film it. A remake could fix that easily. Yeah, exactly right. Honestly, my favorite thing about Black Hole is that it's about 90 minutes. Yeah, it seems a lot longer.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, 90 minutes is a good movie length.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I
keep getting ahead of us. Okay.
No, go ahead. Let's go on to the next one. We've actually talked about this one before on the channel.
Now, I was kind of did a head scratcher. I'm like, well, we're talking movies. This was a series, but then of course I forget this was a theatrical feature.
Yes, it was.
So we have to still count it.
Yes, it was.
Here we go.
And I am talking about this original because I don't see this becoming a TV series again. I do think this, if you were going to remake this, you remake it as you could do a series of movies. And the first one could almost be remade in whole cloth, the almost exact same narrative. I think it was a great establishing story. I think they could tighten up some of the, the sci-fi elements. There was this, it's implied that Buck is, he's in Ranger 3, and also the fact that he's the only astronaut on this ship just doesn't work. It would almost have to be like a what's it called, like a Planet of the Apes situation where you got three people in the crew and he's the only survivor.
They could be killed by the people that picked them up. Remember that?
That's another great point.
Yeah.
But there is the implication that there's some sort of accidental cryonics that happens to him.
It could be he was trying to save his fellow astronauts and then got stuck and thrown off too. Like maybe
what would actually be a better and more plausible explanation is the ship gets caught up in a a micro black hole or something.
That's what happened on Andromeda. That's how he ended up in the future. Yeah.
And how does that happen? Because it accelerates them to near light speeds out of the solar system. So yes, they don't like fall into cryosleep or whatever, but in trying to get back, they don't realize that 500 years have passed. They're picked up by the Draconians, and I think that's a great idea. Two of them don't make it out alive.
I like her outfit.
I liked all of her.
I like her lovely horns on the hat.
Yes.
I'm not looking at anything else.
Like handles.
And then we have the great Henry Silva there as with the villain. Remember?
Yes.
So no, this is I did watch the pilot to this recently, the television pilot, not the movie version. But I was
how's it going, Buck?
Yeah.
That's the late great Mel Blanc.
Yeah, look at that. But this was a lot of fun. What I like about Buck Rogers is he's in this future where the human race has survived some great cataclysm.
Yeah.
But now they have this advanced society inside this dome.
But very sterilized, very.
And he's at this party where we're all doing this dance, and he's like, "Hey, can you guys play some rock and roll?" And they look at him funny because they don't know what it is. Just follow me, the bump, he's doing the bump up.
Yeah.
And they sort of start playing this thing, and it's and they're all looking at him like he's nuts, right?
They're all. Someone even says it's vulgar, and was it Princess Ardala says, "Are you afraid to try new things?" He goes, "Well, it's not exactly new."
She was interesting. The Draconians, I have a question. Are these humans that colonized another planet and started an
They
empire?
don't explain. However, it is strongly implied, especially by the whole overarching plot of the second season. You know, someone pointed out that Mark is the one who mentioned they recycled a lot of the props, sets, and most especially the cockpits from Battlestar Galactica, and vice versa, actually. But they also, second season, stole the whole plot of Battlestar Galactica, and they put everybody on a ship going out into space to find the lost tribes of Earth, which implies that maybe the Draconians were one of those lost tribes of Earth.
Space Disco?
Yes.
There we go. But we have the lovely Erin Gray in this as well.
Yep.
Fills out that uniform very nicely.
Yes, she does. She does.
But yeah, this had some pretty good effects for TV too. So
part of the concept, and it's very, very much implied by the opening segment of this movie, is the idea of James Bond in space. I think that element definitely played out. I think that's
I can see that, because they were going to do a sort of a spy thing where he would go on missions. That was what he was offered at the end, right?
So whereas a lot of people have pointed out that Battlestar Galactica, when it was remade on the Sci-Fi Channel, was so good, it's the go-to that people always point to, for a good remake. A lot of people have been wanting to see Buck Rogers get that Battlestar Galactica treatment.
It's interesting that you say James Bond in space, because there's an anime series of like from the 70s era called Space Adventure Cobra, which very much takes on that motif of a James Bond style character in space. Usually there's a very lovely woman in whatever store he's in that he's trying to rescue, and he's just going up against all sorts of weird enemies and creatures, but it's a lot of human enemies in this thing too. And I think he has a hand that can turn into a gun, like it's partly cybernetic. And it was a really cool series. And it was neat because he would even have reoccurring villains too, like this one guy who was called Crystal Bowie, and he was like a man, but like he was all made out of crystal. And he was one of the recurring villains. And it was very much like a James Bond style story in space. And that's what this is reminding me of too. So yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Nate points out that Buck Rogers, I think you meant in the 25th century.
Yeah.
The budget was 3.5. It wasn't 3,500, was it?
3,500,000, maybe he meant another comma there.
Maybe. Oh yeah, that could have been a comma instead of a. That makes sense.
That's probably what he did.
3,500,000, and made worldwide 20. So it made 7 times its original, or almost 7 times its original budget. That's a successful film, absolutely.
But yeah, I could so see them easily doing this as a movie series. Have fun with it. And I'm not even saying cast Ryan Reynolds, but cast a Ryan Reynolds type. Cast an actor that can be both, has comic timing, but can also be a leading man. That's who you cast as Buck Rogers.
I wouldn't, Jesse. I would not want a Babylon 5 remake. I love Babylon 5. I think it's perfect the way it is. J. Michael Straczynski has been trying to get it remade for a long time. It's in development hell, and I kind of hope it stays that way. I understand that he had a different vision for it. Life happened, and I think he made lemonade out of lemons. That's one that I can't see them improving on. That one, I think, would be doomed coming out of it. Yeah, and I knew Mark would be thinking of Space 1999 would be another.
At this point, it'd be Space 2099.
Yes, exactly.
But I could see them doing that. I could see them redoing UFO. That was another by that same guy that did Space 1999. I could see them redoing that as well. But again, it has to have the right people behind it, and in fact, I would want them to go back to the spirit of the first season of Space 1999, which was almost kind of a horror show because they were always running into these things on Space 1999 At best, you'd run into aliens that were ambivalent to humans, like they didn't like them or dislike them. And half the time, they were running into hostile aliens.
I think the idea of aliens is probably not always the best. I think that, and we're going to run into this as we're going through Blake 7 on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
The Blake 7 episodes that are just Federation human, outlying colonies and stuff, fine. When they start trying to bring aliens into it, it's like, oh, really? Duh. And they did the same thing with Battlestar Galactica, the series. It was like there was aliens and all this. It's like, oh no, this is dumb. They did away with the aliens when they got to the remake of Battlestar Galactica, and I would like to see them do the same thing with Buck Rogers. Right. I would like that if they want to do something with alien-ish, they are humans that left Earth 500 years ago.
Or were abducted by an alien race and kept as slaves, and then they revolted and took over
I'd rather it be we've gone and colonized, because this is actually modern science. A lot of people are saying, look, even if we colonize Mars, within generations, people are going to change, like on a physical basis. They're going to be
that happened in the
gravity and
happened in the Lensman books. One of his friends was Valerian Dutch, but I think he was raised on a moon where the gravity was so low that he was very strong because he was used to being in such a harsh environment where the gravity was, like low gravity. Yeah. So
no, strong gravity. Usually that you get strength gravity, because you come from us. They do that on what is it? The Orville. Right. There's the planet that's got the really high gravity. If regular humans go there, they can't even stand up.
No. If you're born and raised generation over generation.
That was actually supposed to be the explanation for why Superman was so strong, that Krypton was so much bigger than Earth. It was like a Jupiter-sized planet.
That's an interesting explanation.
The problem with it is then you wouldn't look like a human. You would look very, very different. You'd probably be very short, very squat. You probably wouldn't be bipedal.
It's weird. On Andromeda, the show, Dylan Hunt also came from a planet with harsher gravity, or like you were saying, but he had some genetic engineering in him. The humans of that colony had to have it to live there.
That's another speculation that, and even Elon Musk has talked about that. We might have to, genetically engineer people if they're going to another planet.
I think that's why the one Nietzschean talked to him and befriended him, because I guess he felt, well, he's at least partially genetically engineered, unlike the rest of the humans, that he talks to. So there was that. Yeah.
Oh, I absolutely agree with the way space battles were done. For that set a new benchmark. We need to see more of that realistic, preservation of momentum kind of thing.
They ruined Space Nine of the second season by turning into one action series. There was a behind the scenes drama and it killed the show. That happens with a lot of these shows. It happened with, I think, Buck Rogers and even Battlestar Galactica. All of them had these lackluster second seasons.
Yeah, Samuel Proctor makes a great point. In John Carter of Mars, we have a human that goes to Mars, a planet that's smaller than Earth. There is less gravity. So at least initially you would be stronger. The problem is you spend any length of time there, your bones begin to get brittle. You lose muscle mass. You would not maintain that advantage for very long. So they could address those kinds of things, in a remake movie. The Draconians could be, on a planet that's very similar, but they could look a little different. And,
is there an actor alive now you would get to play Buck Rogers?
Well, if this was already in the works, I'd say someone like Chris Pratt.
See, I was thinking more Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds would be a good one too.
You could have Blake Lively playing the Aaron Gray character. There you go.
That actually wouldn't be bad. The problem is Ryan Reynolds would have to pull back a little bit on the.
He's too involved in other things. Yeah, but he's funny in this. You need someone who has a sense of humor.
You need someone who's funny, but he's also got a serious streak too. He plays cocky, but you could tell it's a defense mechanism because of what he's going through. And then he does have moments like this that you're showing where he's a little bit depressed about what's happened. He goes out to the old city. What city are they in, by the way?
I don't know.
New Chicago.
New Chicago.
So he goes to find the grave of his parents.
Jace Momoa, says Space Fraggle.
No,
I see him more as
not
in the Henry
this.
Silva role as the villain, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
no,
yes,
no,
yes.
as Tiger Man,
Oh, okay.
right? As
Yes.
Tiger Man, I can see him as
Tiger Man. There you go. All right.
But then you could take it to the extreme, right? So with the whole genetic manipulation,
you'd have him actually be
maybe
part
he's got
tiger.
the slit eyes and he's got claws. That would be cool. Yeah.
All right. Anything left to say about Buck Rogers?
No.
Henry Cavill, maybe. But
yeah, okay.
They don't like Henry Cavill. They don't want to cast him in anything, it seems.
Well, this is why they couldn't be done right now,
All right. Add. Okay.
That should be remade, maybe.
Boomer's picks. Yes. Vampire Circus. Have you seen Vampire Circus?
Yes, I've got it on Blu-ray. This was
I have it on Blu-ray also. It's a nice Blu-ray. Yeah.
The first. Is this a Hammer production?
Yes, it is. It's one of the later ones
This was
from the 70s.
One of the first, after you pointed out to me
yes.
that Hammer Productions, the reason I was having a hard time finding the Blu-rays, they were out of print. They were going for like $300-$400.
Oh, yeah.
You said it's available on Blu-ray.
Yeah, the DVDs were out of print, but now they put them on Blu-ray. This Blu-ray came with a DVD. If you got, I don't know if you got this as a standalone or did you get it in a pack with others?
I don't remember now.
The pack didn't come with the DVD, but you get 3 other movies. When you buy standalone, it comes with a DVD of the movie as well.
I think it's a standalone, so maybe I do have a DVD.
You have a DVD and a feature.
Yeah.
This is a great
Lala
vampire.
Ward was in this, wasn't she?
The one who was on Doctor Who?
Yep.
Yes, I think she's one of the vampires.
Yep.
This is a great vampire picture that needed a little more time in the oven. I heard the director got rushed. Hammer had a very tight schedule. He wasn't able to do some of the effects he needed to do and some cover shots. So it's flawed. I still like it. And typically when I think of Hammer movies, I'm like, I wouldn't want to remake any of them. How do you replace Christopher Lee or Peter Cushing? But to be fair, this movie didn't have a lot of the big actors in it. The actors in it are fine. I have nothing against them. They did a great job. This is definitely, I want to almost say this is almost in the Karnstein type of vampire movies they did. Sure. It's not referenced. The Karnsteins aren't referenced, but I think it's those types of vampires. Yes. Starts out quaint little European village. Pick a country, any country. Almost fairy tale like. This beautiful young woman is bringing this young girl to this count's castle, and he appears before her and basically decides to consume the child, and then makes love to the woman. He says, "One lust feeds another." It's like, very nice looking young actress here too. In the love scenes, this would have been an R rating because of the nudity.
Ever since I saw the TV miniseries V, right? It made me look at vampires very differently. Vampires feed on humans, and then you've got that element of the, romantic, hedonistic thing, and it's like, I don't see playing with your food. I really don't. That's gross.
It's funny. There was a line on True Blood, where the one vampire lady was, and he's like, don't kill me, and he's like to this one, and she's like, or like, don't, or no, or I forgot what it was, or I think he said don't something great me. He says, I'm not, you're my food, I'm not gonna do that, that's disgusting, and she got all angry at him. But here we go. Funny. We have the local townsman, the schoolmaster sees his wife do this. He says, and little children have been disappearing in the town. So he knows, oh no, something's up. The count is up to something with these kids. I have to go tell the mayor, even though it's my wife. He's like, no. The town are like, what are we going to do? He's the count. He can have us all hanged. And the mayor's like, well, no, I think we have to go investigate this. So they go in, find the girl dead, and realize she's been drained of blood, vampire bite marks. She's a vampire. They decide we got to attack this thing and kill it. It's a vampire. And this ain't like on Buffy where it's like very easy just to stake one. This guy kills like 6 of the men at once when they go after him.
Right.
Finally, there's a lucky shot. They're able to stake him, and he's writhing around, and he goes, I curse the town. You will die. Your children will die to give me back my life. And, the husband gives the wife his shirt, and they take her out, and they're like, no, the townsmen are like, she's not coming back. You know, and he says, but she's the mother of my children. They say, better no mother at all than a mother that serves the devil. So they drive her back into the castle, and then they plant gunpowder canisters by then. They're going to blow the whole thing up. And she goes to her dead vampire lover, and you know, he basically says, go to the circus of life or light or whatever. You know, I have family that work in it, and you can will plan my revenge. Okay, and she escapes. They blow the castle up, and that's just the beginning before the title starts. It's almost like a movie in and of itself.
Let's say goodnight to Curtis real quick.
He's getting tired, as we all are. I'll try to
just
wrap it up.
in case anyone wants to watch tomorrow's Saturday morning cartoons is Superman. Oh, there you go. And there's
everyone loves Superman.
So check that out. Yeah, in the tradition of the old Saturday morning cartoons, make sure you're following Curtis Selby, the tired midnight blogger, who gets up early on Saturdays to play cartoons for you.
Yeah. So, many years later, the town is suffering under a plague. They're not allowed. No one is allowed to leave the town, and the doctor decides to get out of there. He's going to try to find medicines to get rid of this plague. He said, "It's the curse of the county." He says, "No, it's that castle. You didn't destroy it, and rats and all sorts of things festered in there, and that's where the disease is coming from." So they can't leave, but someone comes in, a mysterious circus led by this older gypsy woman. And, you know, the townsfolk, they're stuck. It's sort of like you're stuck someplace and you can't leave and can't do anything. Well, you got a circus coming to town.
Yep.
And there's some mysterious characters like this young man that can turn himself into a panther in front of people. How does he do that? You have this like Tiger Lady who that might be some body paint on her. Yep. Nice looking woman. You have this dwarf who's the clown. Look at that. He's peeling off his own face, and it's like this weird effect. So everyone's enamored by the circus, but we get a very much something wicked this way comes vibe from this whole thing.
Well, and this is another one that's got a lot of tropes in it that are stolen by Dungeons and Dragons. So anyone who's ever seen or played the adventure Ravenloft, it draws a lot of that. The mists that come up around Barovia, and you can't leave, and they're all oppressed by the vampire in the castle, and but the gypsies can come in and out; they're allowed.
Interesting.
And there is a circus
They took it from this movie, probably.
Yeah, that absolutely that travels around Barovia and stuff. Yeah.
I feel this movie there's the clown laughing at someone getting mauled by one of the leopard vampires.
That's rude.
And there's a guy with a glowing cross. I think that's a little silly. I don't know why. I get holding the cross up, but now they're glowing. I guess a lightsaber. But anyway.
The only way that would make sense is if you were literally seeing it first person through the eyes of the vampire.
Maybe that would make sense, and that would be something you might do for
doesn't
the remake.
Seem like that's what they're pulling off here.
I feel that this movie could be remade. Typically, most horror movies, I wouldn't remake them because I love the originals too much, but I feel this one had potential to be grander than it was. I still think it's fine. You should watch it. It would still have to be an R-rated film. You have to have lots of things, maybe a little bit of gore. Don't go overboard. That reminds me of Captain Kronos. There
is just not enough nudity in our R-rated horror films anymore.
There is in this one. You get to see a bit of that young schoolmaster's wife.
Space Fraggle says, "Guilty. I loved role-playing games. Hand me a 20-sided die." I was starting a series, and I really, really want to get back to it on my channel. I was starting to do a narrative telling the story of an adventure path that lasted almost 10 years.
Wow.
in my group. We actually saw it from beginning to end. It was the Savage Tide adventure path. It started out as 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons. Then we updated it to 3.5, and then when they started 4th edition, we moved over to Pathfinder. Cool. So the first couple installments are on my channel if you want to take a look at it. Hopefully I can get back to it someday.
All right. Anyway, I feel though this movie could be remade on a grander scale. We actually have real life circuses in real life. Like this is I think Cirque Italia, which is an Italian circus. Sometimes they tour the states. I've been meaning to see them sometime. They have a I think it's a circus paranormal they call it, and you get some lovely vampire women in here doing acrobatics. I'm sold. Look at some of this creepy stuff in here, huh?
Yeah,
It's considered an R-rated circus. Only adults and teens accompanied by parents are allowed in. So I don't know what goes on here.
Oh, it's probably nothing that bad. It's just, the
sexy ladies, I guess. I don't know. Doing the dancing, I guess. But
I mean, you're probably seeing the worst of it here. And some
creepy Annabelle doll and a guy
heavily
in
implied violence. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I'm thinking you could be inspired by this. Heck, maybe even ask some of the circus people for help in doing your production. Maybe even get some star in the film and make it like a big tent instead of like this local circus animal movie. Have like a big tent thing, like a big magical event that the crownspeople go to. And I'm sorry, Michelle Gomez.
Oh my gosh,
needs to be cast as the gypsy lady in this movie.
I agree. That would be brilliant.
Who turns out to be the young wife. She's in disguise when she comes back years later. She's working for the vampires because she hates the townsfolk as much as anybody. It's weird how like humans are working with the vampires in this for ill will too. But
there's always the kind that'll sell out their own people for a little power.
Michelle Gomez is a modern actress. I felt should have done more horror type roles. I think she would have been excellent in horror films. But it's a compliment anyway. My next pick is where I get yelled at by people.
Wow. Yeah. Do you want a live action remake?
Yep. You're going to yell at me.
Really?
You're going to yell at me. I'm going to get yelled at for this one.
No, I'm not. I can kind of see it, to be honest with you.
You'd have to have the right director. I'm thinking maybe an Edgar Wright or an Edgar Wright type of director. It still has to be a musical. This is rock and roll. Let's explain to you a little bit what this movie is. This was an animated movie, I believe, done by Delphine Animation. If I'm not mistaken, I may be wrong. It was a Canadian animation company.
Were they the same ones that did the Boba Fett cartoon from the holiday special?
I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me because there's sort of a similar look.
Yeah.
But this is another one of these rock and roll animated movies, sort of like Heavy Metal, but this was more PG rated. Still has a bit of an edge to it, though.
They were all furries, as I recall.
Well, that's what I would get rid of in the remake. They don't even look that much like animals. They look a little bit like animals. They're supposed to be evolved rats and cats. That's what they're supposed to be in this movie, but they still look.
Well, then I guess I have to say the Secret of Nim sequel is weird.
yeah, I'm sure that joke's been made. But this is like a post-apocalyptic when all the bombs went off, and then like these new creatures came out of it. They're still living in areas like New York City. I would just have it be like a post-apocalyptic with actual people. I don't mind it in this movie. I just think in live action it'd be weird to put like whiskers and stuff on these faces. I would just leave them as people surviving this thing.
Although, if you've seen Tank Girl, I can kind of see them doing it, like the Rippers.
Yeah. The lead character in this, Angel, I believe that she was based on Debbie Harry.
That's what I had heard too. Yeah,
I forget what his character's name is, but he was supposed to be based on James Dean. In fact, there's oddly enough another cut of this movie which had a different voice actor that was supposed to make him sound more like James Dean, but they went a different route. I don't mind the original voice actor, but I get what they were trying. They replaced with voice actor, but I got what they were trying to go for with the original, because it's supposed to be James Dean versus basically Mick Jagger.
Mick Jagger, you can tell.
Mick Jagger's the villain.
That's just freaking obvious.
I don't know who did Mock. This is the villain named Mock. I don't know who did his voice. I know the songs that are sung by him are done by Iggy Pop in the movie. He has a great musical number where he's just talking about how great he is. My name is Mock. Thanks a lot. And it's a wonderful music sequence. I could see this done live action as long as it's unfanciful enough. I could see this being like kind of a rock. Do I want to say rock opera? Would that be the right term?
Kinda. No, yeah, kinda.
The plot of this movie is Mock is trying to summon a demon from another dimension. That's his computer, and the computer says in this nice female voice, she's saying, "Well, you need someone who can sing the perfect note to summon this demon, because you have all the formula right, but you need someone to sing the perfect note." So it's weird how he's using technology to summon this demon from another dimension, and it turns out Angel has the perfect voice.
Wow.
So, they have to go rescue her. I think she's enamored by Mock because he's, of course, the big hit rock and roll artist who's going to sign her to a deal, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's a great animated movie. I'm already planning the casting, and this is right how I get yelled at. Charles Dance as Mock. Well, I was actually thinking, I'll tell you who I thought of it, but yeah, maybe. But I'm thinking, are there any rock stars alive now? This is where I was almost thinking Taylor Momsen of the Pretty Reckless band, because she has acted also. She was on Gossip Girl. She was on she was in that Grinch movie with Jim Carrey, and she's older now, but she kind of has that whole rock goddess vibe. If I look at the two of them together, kind of a similar look. Now
I wouldn't have thought of that, but that was a good yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Steven Tyler, that's not a bad idea. I didn't think of him. I was actually thinking for Mock, you could actually get Mick Jagger's not dead yet, and he's supposed to be older in this movie anyway. This is like an aging rock star. I was thinking
Steven Tyler would also be a good choice.
Steven Tyler could work too. You're right. I also thought Iggy Pop is still alive too. Still alive doing concerts. Oh my goodness. So you could use either of them, but
yeah.
Agent, where you're gonna have to look for new talent for the rock stars. Something, whatever.
That's another good point, though. I am always open to the possibility that
you need an actress that can sing and also that can sing like she's in a rock band, which Taylor Momsen is.
I agree with you 100%, but it doesn't necessarily have to be someone who's currently known. There's a lot of talent out there that can do it.
Unknown, but I'm saying it's an idea.
I will always keep bringing up, I can't imagine a better Superman than Chris Reeve, and who was Chris Reeve before Superman?
Sadly, Tyler's voice is gone. See, I need people who can actually do the singing.
Yeah, exactly.
Iggy Pop is awesome choice too. All right, but that's my idea. You need someone like an Edgar Wright to make this.
Probably,
but I could see this working. I don't know if I see anybody doing this type of movie now, but Edgar Wright, if you want to use any of my little remake ideas, not that you were listening to this or anything, you feel free. But anyway, that's just an idea I had. Iggy Pop is an awesome choice too. Thank you. All right. Day of the Dead, George Romero's Day of the Dead. The reason I didn't do Night of the Living Dead for my remake is I'm doing it for my great remake, because I wanted to talk about Day of the Dead as an actual remake. And I know what you're saying. They've remade this movie a few times. They did the horrible Day of the Dead remake, which I think one of the zombies was a vegetarian. It had been a Savarian. I didn't even watch that. They did some awful Netflix only, like Day of the Dead Blood. I forgot what it was called.
Yikes.
It was horrible. And I could tell that these were Eastern European actors trying to sport American accents. Awful. It was a horrible movie, and it was like one of the zombies was like a guy that stalked the woman, but he and then he becomes a zombie later on. It's just never mind. It was awful. The reason I bring up Day of the Dead, this was the first zombie movie I ever saw. Good stuff here, underground military base where they're doing experiments.
Not really sure I ever really understood the hands coming through the cinder blocks.
It was a nightmare.
Oh, that's right.
She was having a nightmare. That's why that's there. And then she wakes up. This is a wonderful copter going down. This is like a few months after the events of Night of the Living Dead, and they're trying to see, is anybody alive? And they go, "Hello, is anybody there?" Which I think has been used in a gorilla song. And of course, gradually, lots and lots of zombies walk out of Florida City, and they're like, "Yeah, we got to get out of here. No one's left." And they live in an underground base where this man who has a nickname of Dr. Frankenstein is, trying to figure out what makes these zombies tick. Maybe we can control them.
You like the bright red tempera paint blood?
Love it.
It makes it look like
very
a comic.
very Hammer horror.
It should be more brown.
I know.
Dried blood is brown.
But I think he's recently been messing around with corpses too. That's one of the reasons why it's this red, because he's experimenting on zombies.
Right.
Like he made a point that, hey, look, I removed all this zombie's internal organs, yet it still wants to eat me. Why? It can't get nourishment from me, so they're not doing it for food. And he's discovering all these things about the zombies. Netflix Day Today was Mexican made. I didn't realize. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I thought it was Eastern Europe. All right. There we go. We have Rhodes. It's funny. There's a line in it where they said, "I think Major Cooper is dead, and now I'm in command." And they said, "You thought Cooper I thought Cooper was an asshole, but he's a sweetheart compared to Rhodes." I think that's a little nod to Night of the Living Dead. Remember Mr. Cooper? To the audience, you thought Mr. Cooper was bad in Night of the Living Dead. You have nothing compared to this guy.
Yeah.
And yet Rhodes has the best lines in this movie, like, "You just gave me a mouthful of Greek salad," or "I'm ready to get the next train out of here. The next plane out of here. If you want a good remake of Dawn of the Dead, just watch the Halloween special from 16 Dude, Night of the Living Dead." Okay, well, I'll look for it. I've not seen it. Available to watch on YouTube. The reason I pick Day of the Dead, this is Bub the zombie, who is actually fairly tame. He'll listen to music. He still wants to eat his human flesh, but if you just give it to him in a pail, he'll leave you alone. Right? I mean, and we get a clown zombie in this. Isn't that great?
Wow, doubly horrifying.
You got to have a clown zombie. In fact, I think they reused that in Zombieland. Remember?
I can promise you in October we're going to get a zombie double feature.
Oh, the Omega Man, but could ever replace Charlton Heston? They could actually maybe do. What's the name of that book?
Wasn't the Charlton Heston version
I Am Legend
too? Yeah,
they need to do they need to do a proper adaptation of I Am Legend finally.
Did you see the one with Vincent Price?
It's not bad. Did you know Hammer was originally going to do a adaptation of I Am Legend? They even had Matheson write the script of his own book, but just didn't end up happening. But the reason I picked Day of the Dead was Romero couldn't get the budget he wanted for the movie he actually wanted to do. He had to scale it down, and apparently the original script was much more ambitious, a lot more army. You were going to have basically an army of trained zombies trained to kill other zombies. And I don't know what his original intention was, but it was going to be a lot more ambitious than what we saw. I still love this original movie, don't get me wrong, but wouldn't it be interesting if now, because they wouldn't give him that kind of budget for a movie that was unrated. They weren't going to do it. So he couldn't make the movie he originally was going to make. And this movie got a bad rap when it came out because the script leaked. I don't know how things leaked before the internet back then, but people read the script and they got all angry that it wasn't the movie they were expecting to see. I still think it's a great zombie movie. It's up there with the first two as far as I'm concerned, but some people don't like it. But I think maybe if we get a talented director who wants to make a great zombie movie and has the budget, he could redo that original Romero script and stay close to the spirit of what he originally wanted to do, and that would be a great remake by doing the thing that. And the script is out there; it still exists. So
I think you've inspired me. I think I'm definitely going to do a double feature in October. It's going to be Shaun of the Dead and Fido.
Okay. Yep. But that's why I picked Day of the Dead for my remake.
Good.
Because
great
I think
choices.
So. We'll see. Rock and Rule is the most dangerous one. I have a feeling people didn't like my Taylor Momsen casting, but. I'm sorry. She's I don't know. I like her. But anyway.
I'm with you. No, I think those were great choices.
I'm telling you though.
Some of them I wouldn't have thought of Rock and Roll.
If Retro Blasting was in the chat, he would say Kylie Minogue. Right? No, maybe not. I don't know.
But yeah.
Who probably could have been in a remake of Rock and Roll at one point.
Maybe. Yeah. Exactly. But man, that's some good stuff, my friend. That was so there you go. I stand by what I said at the beginning. I think that there are good remakes. They can be done. If you have the talent, you can adapt anything, really. If you understand good storytelling, if you understand what people really want. But I don't trust current day Hollywood for any of that. I just don't. Aged Boomer, the only way I could have, it could have, I think I'm misreading you here. Licked is someone on crew forgot. Oh, leaked is someone on the crew forgot about to include a non-disclosure agreement. Okay, yeah, there you go. Man, I'm so glad that you enjoyed yourself, Fraggle. That's really awesome. Yep, it's a different topic every week. In fact, next week we are going to have a very, very, very special author guest, Chad Bednar, the author of the Keeper of the Sins series, a series of books about a vampire who works for the Vatican, collecting cursed artifacts. He will be joining us next week to talk about that series, to talk about the launch of his new webpage, and to let us know when the next book is coming out and what other books he's going to be working on.
Cool.
So that will be next week, 9 Central, 10 Eastern on Last Call. I want to thank everybody who has come out tonight and stayed with us for 3 hours. You guys are amazing that have made it this long.
Well, they're doing it to give me watch hours because they know I'm trying to.
They're giving Netter watch hours because we're really trying to get her to that coveted 3,000 watch hours so that she can get monetized. Guys, make sure you are subscribed to Aged Boomer here and to Netter's Network here. Their links are down below. They're sinfully undersubbed. They really need to we really need to help them out. As for me, you guys are already here. I thank you for hanging out with me. If you want to do like deleted scenes and Disney Sheepherder who just stopped in, you could become a producer on the channel and help me keep the lights on. Or, there's always the tip jar, the super thanks, the super chats and whatnot, anything you could do. Or, you know what? Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share the stream out, tell your friends about my channel and say, hey, I had fun. Maybe you would enjoy it too. What else are you going to be doing?
Nothing else. Night? You get to see this drunk guy be a total goofball.
Yeah. And on a night like tonight, you see me get drunk and then start sobering up again. So there you go. Next stream that I know about, well, of course, we did mention Curtis Selby, the Tired Midnight Blogger, tomorrow morning on his channel doing Saturday morning cartoons. He's going to be watching Superman. Tomorrow evening over on Big Al Presents Films with Friends, Big Al will be hosting Netter and myself for a watch party of The Wraith, starring Charlie Sheen and Sherilyn Fenn. So be sure to join us for that. The link to the film will be provided in the chat to watch live with us. If you are not watching live with us, if you're watching us Memorex, you'll need your own copy of the movie. Sunday, of course, is all deleted all the time over on Deleted Scenes channel. He and Outlaw Bill doing The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for Western Cinema Presents at 3 Central, 4 Eastern. Unscripted over on his channel at 7 Central, 8 Eastern, which leads directly into Geeky Geezers on this guy's channel. What are we going to be talking about at 8 Central, 9 Eastern over on your channel on Sunday?
We're talking about how much Concord costs.
Holy crap. That's just... Part of me wants to say that can't even possibly be real, but when you understand the backstory, you're like, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
What the heck else are we talking? I always forget the topics. We go to the trouble of picking out the topics, and I forget when you ask me. I'm sure it's going to be some interesting stuff. The Matchbox
The Matchbox car
the
movie.
Matchbox movie that we all have been just dying to see.
No, I refuse. I'm a Hot Wheels guy. Matchbox is a pale imitation.
That's funny. That's funny.
It's the same thing. Anyway, okay.
We already talked about the Terminator and what.
We're not going to do that Sunday.
We're not even going to talk about that.
We talked about it here. Yeah.
But what we might talk about is how superhero franchise movies lost their way. It's
that's an article. We'll talk about that. And we'll do a good old days on King Arthur, I think. That's really good. That's really good old days, right?
That's old good old days.
Until Mordred showed up, then it wasn't so good. But anyway,
well, that's
mainly going to be focusing on the movie Excalibur, but we'll talk about other.
And then Monday over on my channel, we will be doing a bit of a tribute to someone we lost last week, James Earl Jones, with two of his films, The Field of Dreams and Soul Man. That'll be on my channel starting at 8 Central, 9 Eastern for Last Call's Monday Night at the Movies. Again, there will be a link to watch the movies live with us.
Yeah, he was in a lot of movies. We just typically think of him as the guy that voiced Darth Vader, but no, he's in a ton of stuff.
And like I said, I always think of him as the 7-Up guy, the Uncola.
That's right.
And then Tuesday, starting at 7:30 Central, it's 8:30 Eastern, over on Deleted Scenes channel. Deleted Scenes, who's dropping the links right there. We will be watching the next installment of Twin Peaks. I believe that's part 13. That's Twin Peaks: The Return, the Showtime limited series, on Sparkwood and 21. And immediately after that, over on my channel, I'm figuring about 9:30-ish my time, 10:30 his time. I will be doing the second episode of Blake 7. Last Call presents Blake 7. Spacefall. Yep, the crew of the Liberate. Well, they're not the crew of the Liberate. They discover the prison ship discovers an alien spacecraft.
Yep.
And it's got defense mechanisms, so they send a couple of prisoners in, and the prisoners take over the ship, and very, very exciting stuff. So that will be again at 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern on my channel right back here again. Come around to Thursday on Netter's Network here at 9 Central, 10 Eastern. Who will we be talking to on your channel on Thursday?
Gary Ambrosia.
Gary Ambrosia, the keeper of some of the greatest props in cinema history.
And now Troy's going to have to talk to him about getting him a special prop.
Maybe he can help put me wise to how I can get a particular dagger for Michael over at Retroblast. So that's Thursday. And that brings us around back to next Friday. I already told you, author Chad Bednar, the author of The Keeper of the Sins. Marcus, the vampire who begrudgingly works for the Vatican. So there you go. And that's all I got. Boomer, any last thoughts, any last words, anything that I missed that you want to cover?
I think we covered everything until we get to next Friday. But coming up in October soon too, so we got to do some thinking about what we're going to do in October. But we're not there yet.
Netter?
All right.
Last thoughts, last words, last everything. Last call.
I have Liquid Death. Well, of course, y'all know what I always say. Please make sure you are subbed to every member of the panel, as well as every member of the chat. And we had some new faces in tonight, so check out their channels as well. Of the 6 subs that I lost, I gained 2 people back. So I'm guessing somebody checked and went, "Oops, YouTube unsubbed me." So please double check that you're still sub, because YouTube does that sort of thing. And it's kind of annoying. And it also does hurt our channels when we do lose subs like that. I think it's just YouTube's cringy way of trying to hold us back, because they don't really want us to be successful, just by saying, oh, sure, we want you to succeed. And of course, with that said, we can talk amongst ourselves, and that's all well, good, and fun. But it's so much more fun when you guys are joining us in the chat and you're dropping your comments, questions, trivia, being goofy, whatever it may be. And it doesn't feel like we're separated by miles or continents in some cases. It feels like we're all hanging out in the same room, enjoying each other's company and having a great time. And you guys, you know you're not just our friends. You are our family. We love you guys, and we appreciate you so very much. You can be anywhere right now, and you're here. And that's so encouraging. I love seeing you guys in each of our streams. And if I don't see you, I'm sad, because I'm missing a part of my family. So I do want to thank y'all for being here. Thank you just for encouraging us so much. And you encourage us in so many different ways. It's the comments in each of our streams. It's the thumbs up. It's for those who are monetized. Getting the super chats, super stickers, the memberships. I mean, it all means so much. To some people, it may not mean much, like as you, the person doing it, you may think, this is nothing. But to us, it's immeasurable. So thank you so very much for all that. I also wanted to mention that I am still looking for a guest for Thursday Things. I believe I am October. Let me just take a quick look here. I'm looking for October 10th and beyond. So, if you're interested, drop me a DM on Twitter. Let me know what Thursday you are looking for. Or you can email me, but just make sure you put Thursday Things in the subject line, or I'll think it's spam and delete it. And let me know which Thursday you want, as well as what your YouTube name is. Because if you're emailing me from your personal account, I'm not going to know John Smith is, whoever. So that's helpful. And also, if those of you that are still in the chat are, what's the word I want to use? Good investigators. They want to challenge. There you go. You want to challenge. I am still looking for the first time I did my outro. I want to say it was on a Friday night last call, but I don't remember exactly when. I mean, it was a couple months ago when I first started doing it. And if anyone can find that and tell me which one it was, I'm actually going to give you a prize. I'm not going to reveal what the prize is yet, but I will give you a prize, because I'm trying to figure out how much it differed from the first time I said it until now, because I know I've changed a little bit over time. So just my curiosity, it's making me nuts that I can't find it. So if you guys are for a challenge and somebody can find it, please let me know. And like I said, you will win a prize. And hello, Disney Sheepherder and DJ Ronnie G. So thank you all again for being here. You guys are Osmo. We love you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your evening and a wonderful weekend. And we hope to see you tomorrow over on Western Cinema. Or is that Sunday, Western Cinema?
Sunday's Western Cinema.
So Saturday, whatever Deleted's doing, because he does so much. And then Big Al presents on his channel for our movie night. Looking forward to seeing y'all there. And until then, good night and God bless.
Thanks, everybody. Super appreciate it. Yeah, we went long, and I appreciate you guys sticking around with us. I enjoyed it. I felt it was worth it. The fact that you're still here implies to me that you thought it was worth it too. So good night. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.
Good night, ladies.
Good night, sir.
Hit it, sweetheart.